Yep.
You just hit that little red button and slide to stop.
Okay.
And then when you re-record, it's gonna ask you to hit the red button again, and it should have another blue button that says publish to YouTube.
It says publish to YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's just going to our YouTube, it's not listed.
Okay.
No one else can see it.
So when I want to take a pause, I hit the red button,
Yep, let's practice.
slide it. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you guys, have fun.
We're
Oh,
gonna have
this here
fun.
too.
We're gonna have a blast. It's gonna be the funnest of the fun.
This
ever.
charger for the iPad, you shouldn't need it, but just in case. I'll leave it
Okay.
right there. The
Thank
phone is
you.
for the phone. Here. Thank you.
So take that out. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm Drew.
Sure. Nice to meet you.
What's your name? Gabe. Good to meet you.
Patrice.
Patrice.
Nice to meet you.
Is that your first listing? The one in North Yarmouth?
No, yes. It's actually not my listing, it's my cousin's house.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't want anybody to, he wants to do it like as discreetly as he can, so it's just kind of
Okay.
under the radar. I don't know why, it's so much, if he wants to sell it, like, do it the right way. But,
I like that. If you want to sell it, do it the right way.
well, yeah, it's gonna make it difficult for anybody to try to sell it if we can't make any advertisements for it.
Why does he not want any advertising?
I don't know.
That'd be a good question to ask.
It's being weird. Yeah. And I can say that because he's not related to him. I would say that about a client, but, no, my first listing will be on Tuesday. So,
Oh, cool.
I'm excited about that.
What's happening on Tuesday?
Meeting with my girlfriend at her house. She wants to put her house on the market. They want to build at their camp, build a year-round home at the camp. So
Yeah.
putting the house up for sale. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
They're all good listings, but the first one's kind of special.
Yeah, and she's gonna make it special because it's a very good friend of mine, so it's gonna be fun.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you catch your name?
Yes, Sandra.
Sandra. How are you? Drew.
Drew, nice to meet you.
You too. Would you mind moving up closer to the front? Thanks. Since there's only 3 of us,
Yeah.
anyway, it'd be easier to sit up here. So have you guys done Ignite 1 and 2 already?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Yeah.
I thought you meant Ignite 1 and 2, like, course, I'm like.
Not the whole thing, just the first one and the second one. So there were some business that you guys were supposed to have done in the last one. Did you guys get a chance to do that? The daily 10-4s and all that stuff? Your mission assignments?
I watched the video.
You watched the video?
Well, mission 2, when I went on that, was all about starting up these accounts, and I didn't understand anything that was on there.
Okay.
And mission 3 was kind of like more of the same, so I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna go to class tomorrow and get what I can from that, and
So
try
what
to
was
figure out.
your aha from the video? Any of them?
Um,
Do you know what ahas are when people say
Yes.
that?
yeah, I'm not recalling, I'm sorry.
I don't think I got to the
Yesterday
video,
was my
sorry.
last day at my office for my day job, so it was kind of a busy day.
So you just left that and now you're doing real estate full time?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So yes, I watched the video. I don't remember if I had an aha or not. It was just at the end of a busy day. So I don't remember.
I
I
did
don't
bold
have my
yesterday.
models for anything that's I'm doing, so
Okay.
I'm just here to sit through and take notes and do as
So
much as
we're
I can
prepared.
until I get all of the things.
Yeah.
I don't have anything yet.
And I was at Bold yesterday.
You were?
Yeah, so
Nice.
I didn't get home until 7 o'clock last night, and then had to feed a 13-year-old and do some loads of laundry. So by the time I sat down and looked at everything, I'm like,
So
it was all double.
what was an aha from Bold?
There's a lot of aha from Bold,
A
but
lot of them, huh?
yeah.
I just hate standing up there when there's like 3 of us. It just seems like not. I'd rather have a conversation.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
think
But,
video can
um,
still see me over here, so.
I think,
So you must have gotten something out of a full day of Bold, right?
oh yeah, I mean, tons of stuff. It's hard to narrow it down, but
Give me a
just,
good one.
trying to think of what I picked for my, basically that, 5 years from now,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we did our goal setting, you know, our Sunday goal, our 5-year goal, our 1-year goal, and the idea that the Sunday goal and the 5-year goal can be the same thing.
Yeah,
And that.
that's a big
when we-
aha, huh?
The aha is when you look at from now to 5 years from now, it looks like far away, but when you're planning it from 5 years back to today, it's really not, it's a blink of an eye, you know, it's like, and I've always said the days are long, but the years are short.
Yep,
I'm like, okay, how did I get here? I'm gonna be 55 and I don't even know how that happened. Cause I'm not 55 in my head or in my heart. My
Right.
body tells me I am, but the rest of me is like, no, you still, you know.
it's,
Good morning.
it's kinda like that, like, morning,
He wants us up front.
Okay.
if you don't mind, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
no problem, where do you want me to go?
You could sit-
You can sit there, you can
Will
sit.
I be in front of the camera there?
I think that's a good point. How about
I'll
over
go over
here?
here, yeah, okay.
So that was my aha, that time is a matter of perspective.
Yeah. You like Sandra or Sandy?
Sandra,
Sandra,
it's
okay.
S-A-U-N, the A says off.
And give me your name again, sorry?
Patrice.
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 Great. And you are?
Karen Bow.
Karen. I think we met before, Karen.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, cool. That is a great aha, and it's amazing. I mean, college, raising kids,
Mm-hmm.
kind of everything is the same like that. When you're in it, it just seems like there's 8 million different experiences you're having, and then when you look back on it, you're like, geez, it's been 4 years already? Really?
And one of the younger agents said to me the other day, we were up in the PC office, and I said, we were talking about that concept, and I said, geez, and she's probably, I don't know, 20-something, you know? And I'm just like, if I could have your youth, but know what I know now.
If only, right?
And she's like, what would you do with it? I said, I would rule the frickin' world.
So go do it anyway.
Well, that's my plan.
Yeah. You
I'm gonna
got
try.
your 5-year plan. You'll be
Yeah.
ruler of the world in 5 years.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
So
what Gary says, you can accomplish anything
you can.
in 5 years.
It's pretty remarkable. So
She's
I'm
a
sure
boldie too.
Yeah, bold.
you're bold too.
She's bold. She's
Nice.
Karen,
Karen,
she's
I'm
bold.
So there's a lot of people that are probably talking to you, training with you, involved in the PC program, all kinds of stuff. So I'd like to take a few minutes just to say who I am, so you know kind of where I'm coming from. I started with KW about 2.5 years ago, so the end of 2016. And this was my first stint in real estate, so I had not done any real estate before that. So the first year, I was rookie of the year.
Wow.
Last year, I doubled my business, and this year, I'm on track to probably about 60% increase over the previous year.
Wow.
So,
Congrats, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
crazy.
Yeah.
What were you doing just before this?
so I was in pharmaceutical sales for
Okay.
about 13 years prior to starting with Keller Williams.
Which is tough.
Yeah.
Which is, it's very corporate, which was the only corporate job I ever had. I'm not a real corporate guy, so I'm glad I did it. I'm also really glad I made the switch to real estate. So my story is a little bit different in some ways, but in a lot of ways, I had to go through what everybody else has to go through. You got to start with nothing and build your business and make it happen. So when I was in pharmaceuticals, my job was dealing with physicians. Some of the medications that I had were literally life and death situations for patients. I mean, it could save their life, completely change their life, or it could kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I approached it was, and it wasn't just me, it was some really good training about how to do this, but I would talk to a physician and explain to them, these are the positives, these are the perks, these are the good things about this. Here's concerns you should have, or some possible issues that might come up, or side effects, things like that. And based on that information, here's kind of a good patient that you would want for this medication. This would be the ideal patient. Do you have any patients like that? Oh, great. Now let's get that patient the medication. So now let me deal with the staff and with everybody else to try to help make sure that person can get that.
Maybe if I move over there, so you don't have to like
That would be great. Thank you.
both sides of the word.
I appreciate that. I hate to make you move twice. Thanks, Sandra. That's why I said it's easier when we all sit together. I mean, if it was
Yeah.
30 people, it'd be different. So that being said, do you guys know who Mark Richards is?
What is that, something, yes.
Yeah.
It's-
So here at the Market Center, you'll hear Mark Richards' name all the
Yes.
time. He did a training when I started where he was talking to everybody about your value proposition. So it doesn't matter what you did before, whatever it was. I don't care if you were a dog catcher, or if you were a waiter, or if you were a nurse, or a doctor, or whatever. You have a value proposition. You have something you did before that's applicable to what we're doing now. And especially when you're new, that's really important to get that down. Hey, Janice.
Oh, you guys are wicked lucky. You are wicked lucky.
Right,
Thank
like
you for
3 classes
being
in a
here.
row.
It's the
We're
bomb. Did he tell you already he was rookie of the year?
Yeah.
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 Just found out.
Of course, Janice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He was under my watch.
Under her tutelage.
Oh, get that in there,
Yeah, you were
whoa.
lucky. Thank you for being here.
So the value proposition I had, which you can do the exact same thing, is I would explain to people, if I've never sold a house before, instead of feeling a little bit insecure, like, gee, can I really do this? I used to deal with people in life and death situations, and I didn't tell a doctor what to do. I didn't walk in and go, listen, doctor, I know you went to school for 12 years and have that degree on the wall, but you gotta listen to me. Here's what you need to do. That really wouldn't have worked very well. So my approach, which again, it wasn't my brilliant idea, it was training, was instead of doing that, explain to them what the benefits are, what the risks are, figure out who the right candidate would be, and then collaboratively, let's get that person that medication at the best possible price. I did the exact same thing with real estate. I'm not gonna come in here and tell you your house is $272,000. Well, I'm gonna show you all the information, and we're gonna talk about this, we're gonna come up with a price, and then I'm gonna help you execute the plan to get that house sold. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you help them to figure out what the price is by showing them
Absolutely.
the CM, you don't say, I would suggest this, or would you?
Yeah, we
I
can.
know I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, we can
but-
talk more about
yeah.
the details of it, but the general premise
You work
is
with them.
having a value proposition that is, what did you used to do?
Oh, me? You're
Yeah.
asking me? I was, in sales for Main Home and Design magazine.
Perfect. What'd you do for that? In a nutshell.
I sold, advertising, which was included in magazines, sponsorships to events,
Great.
yeah.
So you had to explain to a bunch of other people what the value was for them.
To be in it,
To be
yeah,
in
and
the
at
magazine.
first, just like what you said, at first, when I started, 8 years ago, doing it, meeting with, architects and builders, and I knew nothing about building a house, or anything about that business.
Yep.
And here I felt like I was, helping them about their marketing needs, like how am I supposed to, you know what I mean? But I believed in the products that we had to offer.
Yep.
And then, yeah, kind of, like you're saying, I'm seeing a similar type of,
Yeah.
outline for myself.
Exactly, same value
Yeah.
proposition. Because eventually you'll have 7 or 8 or 10 houses that you can then say, oh, well, this is what I've done.
Mhm.
Until then, you can talk about what Keller Williams has done, and you can talk about that.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Love that magazine.
Great magazine.
Cool, so what we're gonna do today, this is all about finding your business, right? If you didn't know that already. Number 3. So, I'm gonna go through some of these slides. Is this up here? It is, perfect. Have you guys been doing the 10-4s?
No.
I did one
What an
yesterday for
honest
both,
mistake.
but. Well, damn, that's bad. We did
Yeah.
the accident thing.
411, we did the 411.
Have you all been calling people that you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have logins yet, so I don't wanna call somebody and then not be able to help them there.
Okay.
Well, I was
So,
told that
I'll
wasn't
call
an
someone.
excuse, cause I just got my login 3 days ago. And I've been here for a month.
Nice.
So I was told I need an excuse to still be lead generating, just say engage.
Fair enough.
It's okay.
Do you have a, do they give you an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, you can put all your contacts down?
Yeah, I worked on
That's
that.
helpful, like,
Yeah.
before each day.
So, scripts, really important. I know Joe and Charlotte do a lot of scripts and role play. I think it's Tuesday and Thursday, every morning. I'd highly recommend that. So there's a script for pretty much anything you can think of. If you start on page 9, do you not have a book? No. Do you have a book?
I have a book, but it's also online, and
Okay.
my book is up at the office, so
Cool.
I'm calling it up.
Right, so if you wanna look on this. So there's a script for pretty much anything you can think of. There's a script for calling someone you know, there's a script for calling people you don't know, there's a script for calling, different kinds of vendors, like, if you wanna call landscapers and contractors and people like that, there's a script for that. There's a script for if you get a referral from someone and you gotta call that referral, there's a script for that. There's a script for pretty much everything. And the beauty of the scripts is they were written by people that have already had a lot of success in real estate. They've already done it, they've already know what works, and they wrote out these scripts. A lot of times, if you try to script the first time, it feels a little awkward. It's because it's the first time doing it. Just practice those scripts, and eventually it becomes kind of internalized. So then you'll find that beautiful moment when someone says something to you, or you're on the phone with someone, and that script pops out of your mouth, and you didn't even think about it. It's just how you talk now. And that's a beautiful thing, and that's what we want to get to. So with these scripts,
I'm sorry, what page are you on? 9.
page 9, sorry. The first one is referrals. So, hi, blank, my name is blank with Keller Williams Realty. Your name was given to me by a close friend, blah, blah. So that one's obviously when you're calling a referral. So if you have referrals to call, you can use that one. If you're new to real estate, which you all are, right? How long have you been? You're brand new.
Couple months.
Couple months, and also a couple months.
9.
Are you in section 3?
In the wrong.
You're in
I don't
the-
have a book, so I don't even
Oh,
know.
okay.
What page are you on?
Let's-
Section 3.
9.
What
you have it
section
online?
3, what page is section 3 and start on?
Well, they all start with,
They all start with 1.
let's find your business, ignite power
Yeah.
section.
Yeah, I might not even have it printed out.
Would you
I didn't get my
mind-
book either.
Okay, would you mind looking on the other?
That's fine.
Cool, and then we'll get to it. So there's new to real estate, there's new to Keller Williams, which that doesn't apply to any of you, right? You didn't do real estate somewhere else, okay. And then reminding them you're in real estate, so this is somebody, if you already told them like a month ago that you're doing real estate and now you need to kind of reconnect with them, there's a script for that. New to the area, these are all different scripts. So what we're gonna do for about 15 to 20 minutes is we're gonna call people. This is where you start to sweat.
Yep. I already felt the stomach turn.
So here's a trick. I told you when I started, I got rookie of the year the first year. The second year I doubled my business, and the third year I'm on track to do about 60% more than that. You have to do phone calls and conversations with people. That's it. That's all I really did. It's just a matter of getting out there and talking to people and making sure that you're consistent with that. Even if you don't say the perfect thing every single time, that's okay. It doesn't matter. It's just having these conversations. Eventually, you're going to get through to people. I just made an appointment last week. I was so excited for this appointment. I talked to this woman initially, January 5th, 2017. I made an appointment last week. It wasn't that I was that good, because otherwise I would have had the appointment a year and a half earlier. I just kept on it. I kept talking to her, following up, doing the things I needed to do, touching base with her. Eventually I got the appointment. So if we all just pick up the phone and call people, or get out there and meet people for coffee, or go to their house, or do whatever on a consistent basis, eventually you're gonna get some results. Even if you're not perfect every single time, that's okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Really important to just do it. So we're gonna make some phone calls. If you wanna call people you know, that's fine. I consider meeting my friend over at the coffee shop an appointment, because I'm reminding them that I'm doing real estate. And it's nice to sometimes talk to them when I'm not just saying, hey, who do you know? Are you gonna sell your house next week? It's just a normal conversation, and it's building that rapport. And of course, real estate comes up, because now they know I do real estate, and they always ask me questions about this and that. But that's an appointment. Go in and have coffee with a friend is an appointment. So different people have different techniques and what they consider. I consider anytime you're talking to someone that you know, or an acquaintance, or someone you made an appointment with to go have coffee and they get a chance to know you a little bit, you're making a connection with someone that someday could lead to business. So most of what I have going on right now, I'll go through it in my head, but virtually everything, we'll talk more as we go through today, is all stuff that has been in the works. It's nothing that I picked up the phone today, talked to someone, made the appointment today, and then listed their house tomorrow. Like, I don't have much of that going on right now. It's almost all stuff that I've been working on for a long time that all came to fruition.
That must be similar to your past business too, right? Did you have to make booking a lot of appointments and
Yeah.
stuff like that, so probably a lot of phone calls?
Yeah,
and stuff?
we'll talk about that a little bit today when we talk about kind of the funnel of getting the business from initial contact to spitting out that actual piece of business. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. In my previous career, it was all about that. It's a continuing sale. Real estate's the same way.
Yeah.
You never really finish. You're never really done. It's not like, oh great, they bought their sofa and they're out the door and I'm done.
Right.
There's always the next step, the next step, the next step. So take out your phones, and it's now exactly 9 o'clock, so at 9:20, we'll wrap it up. If you want to spread out or do whatever you feel more comfortable with, that's fine.
Session, which one? Which session? Yeah. Session 3.
This is Drew.
And-
Hey. Okay. Let me check on that, okay? I'll call you.
9 scripts, yep, got it. See if you find that, thank you.
Okay, yep, so you're outside the house now? Let me call and see if they're out of the house or not, okay? Okay, bye-bye. Hey, Ann, are you out of the house yet? They showed up early, so I'm gonna tell them that they need to back out of your driveway and wait for you to leave. And you, yeah, and you also, this is their problem for showing up early. Like, that's not your problem. So don't just. I'll tell them 20 minutes, okay? Yep. So, okay, you sure? I'll tell them just back out, and then they'll see when you leave, and when you leave is when they can go in. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ann. Bye.
And then what are you gonna do when that runs out? You don't have to pick up the phone. It's like Ron said it, well, if you don't do it now in the beginning.
Hey, Sean, so if you guys can just back out of the driveway, because her car's in the garage, she'll be, what's that?
Call me.
That would be great. And then, she'll be out of there in like probably five minutes, maybe 10 at the most. But, okay?
Nobody likes it.
Sounds like a positive problem. I like that. Okay. Cool. Give her 5 minutes to get out of the house. Thanks. You got it.
Yeah, see, I don't, this is how I talk.
Right. The thing is, when I have to look into like, necessarily like the scripts at first either, but I'm starting to see how knowing them like the back of your hand can come in handy, like you were saying, like when all of a sudden you're talking to somebody and you didn't realize you just like came up with that exact script that you learned because you know. Because you're doing it at first, I didn't feel like the scripts were the way, but you can adjust it a little bit, you know, adjust to make it sound like you.
And the 30 minutes that they do twice a week just isn't enough, I need more. And even when you show up there, sometimes they're not supposed to be script partners. Alright, good. Because sometimes you show up there and they don't even do it, because there's nobody there to do it. So, you know, I'm like, I'm not depending on 30 minutes twice a week. I need to just do it, but I've been doing it with my 13-year-old, but he doesn't really know how to like work me, you know what I mean? Well, he's a little actor, and he enjoys it, but he's too easy. I can win him over really quickly. Alright, I know we're supposed to be calling.
Alright.
Alright. I'm so tired.
They are happy to hear from you.
Yes.
They want to list their house with you today.
And they want me to call now.
That's it. They want to hear from you.
That's right. They're excited. They're freaking biting at the bit. Alright, let's go. So lucky. I did my first CMA and I was like, I thought that was a big deal.
People are wanting to look still, and I'm like,
You know what? That's probably not going anywhere right now. I need to make some money.
Hey Caroline, it's Drew Stevens with Keller Williams. Just returning your phone call. You can reach me at 838-6022. I might be a little difficult to reach until after 11:30 this morning. If you want to call me back after 11:30. Quick answer to your question. The view is unobstructed and it will remain unobstructed. There's no way someone could build in front of you. Okay? Thank you.
hey, how are you? Good, sorry I didn't get back to you yesterday, but, it's been crazy busy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, like, so, open house was happening that same week, and then it just so crazy. I don't know, it ate up my whole week of just trying to people and do it, I gotta go do it. So it's all good, yeah, so I just wanted to tell you that I was sorry about that too.
Call Evie.
She was like, trying to.
Hey, good morning, Ken. It's Drew.
Put it all together. And, but,
Oh, okay.
I was wondering, are you going to start next week?
You said you were going to call me, but you ended up sending me an email that you said you guys were thinking about the idea of building something on a lot.
Come on, Evie.
Oh, okay, yeah. All the pictures, and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
pretty much all lined up, so, anyway. But yeah, but.
It checks a lot of the boxes for you. The only downside is the price.
You know,
I think it's going to be really tough for you to squeeze in what you want at that price point.
we do like coffee or whatever.
Yeah, and that's in Scarborough. I mean, if you're open to, you had said Gorham, or you had said some other areas, then that changes things. I mean, definitely lots are at a premium right now in Scarborough, there's just not that many of them. It's terrible phone service down there. You wanna call me later? I'm gonna be available after 11:30, anytime you can call me.
But
Yeah, after 11:30, give me a buzz. Thanks, guys.
Are you busy? Do you have to? Okay. Well, I just wanted to let you know, I had contacted
Good
Rob.
morning, dear to the sun, or how are you?
Building a house for,
Wednesday would be
one of my
good.
friends.
Well, I'm doing okay. I'm picking up the phone and touching base with people that I know, to give them the exciting news that, Upper Cover Real Estate, Keller Williams Realty,
That day, so, and it's supposed to be
and,
11, so after that.
with this new partnership, I have a lot of knowledge working for me, plus, my clients all get, you know, the hard work.
But I have a lot of contacts out there, meeting with a lot of people.
Hey Dick, you
Okay,
still
so
there?
then, so after that, I'm free, why don't we,
Class,
we can plan something next Wednesday.
Lost the call, talking to myself.
But
Dave.
if you wanna let
Just lost my phone.
Rob know,
Just lost my hand.
Great thing you can do.
So, yeah.
Call people you know. Ask, do you have any people that are, maybe not like your best friend, but just friends, like people that would.
I've called a few people, we did like some of these scripts and they're just people that I knew, but nobody that I was really gonna.
Do you have any people that you know that are not necessarily best friends, just could be friends, whatever, that own a home?
Yeah, I think I have
Funny
his card
thing.
now.
That's why I'm asking now.
Just to make sure
No?
that, you know,
What about,
Rob uses it if there is
Are there any people that you know whose parents are local that own a home?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, hey Dick, I could
See if you
call.
can go to those people and ask them for their parents' phone numbers, to call them, and when you talk to the parents, approach it like this, say, hey, you're new in real estate,
For my life.
and you're working on some,
I,
just basically practicing
I'm
your
now,
presentations for
working as a
people,
real estate agent
and you'd
for
love it if they would do you a
Realty.
favor and meet you for half an hour or 45 minutes to practice your presentation.
Presentation.
Don't worry about it. Practice the presentation.
Okay.
Because they will more than likely do it to help you out as a favor, because you're not going to sell them anything. You're going there to practice presentation.
personal one.
And what ends up happening is you meet with them, and then they get to see that you're really a competent, sharp guy, and you know what you're doing, and you're working with a bunch of people that also know what they're doing, and you might get something out of that. The worst case scenario is you get some good practice doing real, instead of role play, it's real play. You're
Yeah.
doing real presentation.
No, I hear you on that. The only thing is I don't wanna set an appointment to go there and still not have like literally any information. Like I don't have Keller Williams email or my MLS login
Yeah,
or any
maybe
of
sometime before
those.
this.
You can-
So I can't really.
You can set the appointment for a week from now, 2 weeks from now, and then you can also always find something to meet them and present to them. If nothing else, you can say, great, you know what, today we're gonna walk through your house. I really appreciate you doing this for me.
Yeah.
And we're gonna walk through your house and we're gonna talk about what the value of your house is.
Okay.
It's all role play, so they're not gonna say, oh, no way, you're not selling my house, because you're not asking them to sell their house.
Yeah.
So,
Does that make sense? I did that with a good friend when I first started. I said, hey, I just wanna practice my listing presentation for someone. Can I do it with you? And he said, yeah, of course. We ended up meeting, and I did it. He wasn't interested in selling. His family, he's young kids, he's living in the house, he's no interest in selling.
Sure.
I ended up doing a public records check while I was doing that whole thing, just preparing myself, and I found out he had some finished space that wasn't on town records. So he was really thankful, like, he found out he had 250 square feet
Yeah, I'm
that
sorry,
needed to
Dick,
be
I don't know
updated.
if
Oh, cool.
So there's little things that can come out of that. So
Yeah.
it's a
Can you
good
hear
way to
me?
get yourself out there and
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
those presentations and
Sure.
get practice doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, super, that's wonderful. So yes, I will definitely get some cards in the mail to you, and we'll have to do dinner coming up soon. Okay? All
Yeah, I
right.
think that works better.
Thank you very much, have a great weekend.
Yeah. How you and
All right,
Rose,
take care.
Rosemary
Bye-bye.
doing?
Well, that was worth doing.
You're not.
Is it worth doing?
That was worth doing?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, it's
Yeah,
a friend of
right.
mine whose husband does
Yeah, I do.
construction, and, I had actually asked him to
Well, you know what?
meet with
we'll
one of my
meet
clients to
on
build a
Wednesday.
house, the one that
Get together,
I'm
we
listing
can
next week.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they really knew that I was
Help you too.
doing
That's,
realty, and that's why I
stinks.
had called him last weekend. But she said that
Yeah.
he has tons of people all the time, older folks that he's doing work for that are getting their houses ready to sell.
Nice.
Need realtors.
When are you meeting with them? When are you meeting
Well,
with them?
we're doing dinner, like sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Perfect.
So, anyway.
Awesome.
And then she wants cards and.
Keep going. We got 7 more minutes. Let's make some more good contacts.
7 more minutes.
Yeah, so I was telling you, like, you know, once I get done, then also, I don't know how you feel about your photography, but I know you do it, you've done it for other things and stuff like that. But, what kind of packages you have, that kind of stuff. I grabbed somebody quick that was like ready to just like do it from like first look tiny house. But, happy to work with you too, you know that. You know I would go to you in a second, but I didn't know.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Right, that's.
Well, sorry to hear you guys are having such a
Yeah.
difficult time. Yeah, well, one day at a time.
Hey, what's up, Aaron? Good. I didn't get a chance to talk to you the other day about real estate stuff, but I have something specifically for you that I thought you might be able to help me with. I have a property in North Yarmouth that is not on the market yet. Someone bought it specifically to flip it, so they're redoing everything on the house. But the inventory is so tight right now that I thought if you knew anyone, any of your friends or somebody you know that's looking in North Yarmouth, this would be like a chance for them to kind of get an inside scoop on a house before it hits the market,
Buy or sell a home?
which is what you have to do now. But the sign is out so they can drive by and see if the location works for them. It's right on Walnut Hill Road. Do you know anybody that's looking in North Yarmouth? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, how about,
Do you want the
settled
specs on the house, or do you wanna just have, okay, it's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
Yeah.
It's about 2,000 square feet with a detached 2-car garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if,
The garage is nothing special, but it, you know, it's a garage. It has plenty of storage space. It has 2 garage doors that are brand new garage door openers. But that's about it. It's not, it just gives you a place to stick your car. Yep, exactly. The house itself is a cape that is,
Alright, so.
like I said, they're doing everything. So the floors, the kitchen, the bathrooms, the roof, pretty much everything. The laundry room, all the appliances, everything is gonna be brand new. And the price point's gonna be below 400 and maybe as low as 370, 375, right around there. So it's not ridiculously expensive. It's about $30,000 to $40,000 less than the new construction. And it has some really nice old charm to it, like the beams in the kitchen and the wide pine floors, like the master bedroom, that kind of stuff.
See if I can help her and follow.
So, anyway, it's 197 Walnut Hill Road.
Yeah. Alright, well, that sounds good.
You're busy.
It's good. Well, listen, I hope that you, folks can, get some things.
It's, the sign is up, so there's a little horseshoe driveway. If they wanna pull in the driveway, they're welcome to. Alright, and just, and my number's on the sign, so they can just call me if they are interested and they have any questions.
Alright, sweetheart. And,
All right.
Give us a hug from me, okay?
Thank you. I figured you might know somebody.
Alright, good, alright, bye-bye.
I know
Cool.
a guy on Sligo Road.
Thank you.
He's kind of
Good seeing you the other day.
Really listed.
Take care. Bye.
If he should change his mind.
I know, you know the chain.
Or if he has friends.
Yeah, the food chain, yeah. Right, that's calling. All right, Heidi, see you then. Okay, bye.
What about that room? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I just thought I would check. See if you do hear of anything. What are you guys up to for the weekend?
I know this guy's looking to sell a condo, I mean, a timeshare, I don't want to deal with that, I think.
Up in,
Timeshare?
either we're hanging around. I've got work to do and Mike's still working on some shit.
Fees, and I was like, screw that, I don't have a timeshare to pay all that, I'd rather have it in Florida.
That would be a good time. Yep. Okay. Alright. Yes. And if Scott changed his mind and really.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, good morning, I'm doing great, thanks for taking my
Okay,
call.
alright. Drive safe. Have a good weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Did you have a moment? Well, I just wanted to share with you the exciting news that I'm a real estate agent now for Keller Williams Realty. Thank you. And with this new partnership, I have a lot
Hey
of
Ted, it's
knowledge
Drew.
working
How's it
with
going?
me.
Give me a call when you get a
Plus,
chance.
my
I'm actually
clients
in
get all
a
my
meeting until
enthusiasm and hard
11:30.
work.
But
And I
after
thought about
11:30,
sharing
I'm
some
pretty much
things
free the
that
whole
maybe
day.
you
So give me a
can
buzz. I
sell
just
to
wanted to
the
talk to you a little bit
local
more about those
business.
lots you got. Okay, thanks.
Well, first, I do have an app that I'd really like to share with you because I know that you've been interested in possibly buying a home. And you can see what's going on anywhere from your street to any place in North America. And yes, and it's free, there's no cost to you, and I can send it to you through a text, so you can link to it. Does that sound good? Alright. Well. Okay, well, that's okay, Katie. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm here for the
Hey
for the
Teresa, it's
long
Drew.
term,
I'm
so,
just calling to check in with you and see how
I'd
things
love
are
to
going.
get together with you and just have coffee.
I know last time we
talk
spoke,
about,
you had said your daughter's gonna buy that lot off you,
you
and
know,
I've
the
had a
thoughts
bunch
and
of
ideas you
conversations
have
with
had
people
if you
since
were
then. And I just
sell
wanted to
your
see
home.
what your plans are, if anything's changed. And otherwise, happy spring, and give me a buzz when you get a chance. 838-6022. Thanks.
My schedule's, pretty flexible. Is there a time that you could, get together that would work for you when we can meet for coffee? That sounds great. When do you, plan on, coming back? That way I can, shoot you a message and we can set something up. June 3rd. Well, great. How about I give you a couple days after that, and then I'll give you a call and we'll get together. Alright, Katie. Well, thank you so much again for taking my call. And you have a wonderful vacation. Alright, bye-bye. How was that? Was that okay? Was that alright?
Yeah.
Are you asking us?
Are you asking us or you want-
Some phone.
No, it was my team captain.
Oh.
Yeah, I need to just practice it and, actually, Karen and I were saying, we're gonna be script partners.
She's on the phone, or is she
Yeah.
talking to us?
She's on the phone.
She's on the phone, okay.
I know.
Alright,
I'm just
okay.
I'm just making sure.
They're waiting for us to get back to the last minute of the night right now. Okay. Okay, sweetie. Okay, alright, thanks, Katie, have a great time. Bye-bye. I decided to call Katie my team captain for bowls because I knew she'd give me a run for my money.
Oh, yeah, Katie from,
Yeah.
There you go.
Sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I called Dick and Rose from my old church, and he's got back problems, and Rose twisted her ankle, and I just like, that church list is so sad because they're all so old. But I did get a referral for his daughter. They might be looking to, she has been looking to buy a house. Poor Daddy, because he's such a sweetheart. My home is gonna call Katie. So we need to pick a time.
Okay.
to do script.
Sorry guys, I'm just looking for,
We're just gonna do it.
I've got some videos for you.
And you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all my scripts out from the bold binder and put it in a separate binder, I think.
Mm.
And then we can just decide which ones we wanna practice on that day.
Yep.
And then we'll do that and each day, even if it's for a few minutes each day, we'll pick one script and we'll just take turns
Yeah.
on it.
Yep, sounds good.
Sound good?
Sounds like a plan.
Alright.
I like it. Yeah, Ignite has a whole script thing too, right? The Ignite book.
Well, this one has for
Yeah.
new real estate.
Oh, that's right here.
Well, there's a whole other.
Okay. Yeah, I got a whole thing on that.
See, I haven't gotten it, I haven't gotten the book yet.
They may not, ask Joe and Charlie, they might have, I don't know if they have any left from last week.
There are no, there's no.
Oh, they're on order, okay. I have a book, I can make you copies of, or it's in, well, it's all right here too. It's all in there. And there should be something first, remember how,
Well, I can, if it's under in the manual, I can just pull it.
I should have.
Under additional maybe?
Ignite scripts right here.
Oh, okay.
Well, so
Yeah,
do
so I can
like-
pull it right up on my computer.
Alright.
I may make the decision to print that off then.
Yeah, it's easier, just go by. And print it.
I bought a printer for my home, so
Yeah.
I would have it.
I planned on doing big business.
As you should.
I had no idea what I was doing.
Oh, I don't have your email. What's your email, Sandra?
It's, Sandra Lee, SAUNDRA, Lee, L-E-E.
Okay, so calls are over. How was it?
Terrifying.
Terrifying? Who said that?
Voicemails.
What's that?
Got a few voicemails.
A few voicemails? What do you do when you get a voicemail?
Well, two of my friends texted me after that because they're millennials and text when they get a call.
Perfect.
Whatever, you know what I'm talking
You gotta meet people where they're at, right?
Yeah.
If they're into texting, you text
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So, everyone's okay, right?
Made an appointment.
We all lived. You made an appointment.
Well, appointment for coffee, not like an appointment for, like what you were saying, you know, just,
That's an appointment.
yeah, it's,
Appointment for coffee is an appointment.
yeah.
If it's an appointment to do your nails, it's an appointment. If it's an appointment to go to a movie, it's an appointment.
But it's to talk, and it's to talk business, so.
Awesome. Who was it? How did it happen?
It's, a friend that, I worked with for 8 years at Daytona Design. She's a photographer and, designer.
Okay.
And, so she's looking to get into architectural photography, do more of that. And she was, in real estate, and we said, let's talk, let's see, you know, let's talk together about all of our connections that we have and how can we do that. And she told me about, yeah, some like, event that's coming up that
Yeah.
we should be going to, that would be great, and
Cool.
so, yeah. So that was
Perfect.
there.
Big win.
Yeah.
Nice job. Have you guys heard from anybody coming from contribution?
Yes.
Have you heard that? People will say that a lot. Someone like that, you're meeting with them like, how can I, with what I'm doing now, how can I help you? You know, before I was in real estate, I don't know, but now I'm in real estate, how can I help you?
Right.
It's an amazing how receptive people will be when you're coming to them to help them out. They have a new business, and you're not saying, hey, let me go sell your house. You're saying, hey, how can I help you with your new business? It really brings out like the best, both ways. You're coming from contribution to give them, they wanna give you business after that. It's just a really good thing. Any other wins? You made an appointment, right?
Yeah.
Nice. And what happened with that? You just called them and they didn't know you were doing real estate?
No.
Did you use a script? Okay.
No, because it was a friend of mine, and I just feel like that doesn't sound like me if I
Yeah.
had stuck to that script. And I had just talked to her husband, email like the weekend before that, before
Yeah.
this. So I was kind of like following up on that, and then led into the, I'm doing real estate, that's why I
Yeah.
had contacted him last weekend.
So here's the thing with scripts, my 2 cents. It works for every scenario. So even when I'm talking to a friend or my mother, I use a script. I do it I'm not gonna say, hi, this is Drew Stevens with Keller Williams Real Estate. Because my friend, who's used to me going, hey, what's up? Is gonna go, what is wrong here? Their brain's gonna go, something is wrong here, right? So I want it to be natural. However, the script says certain things like, who do you know that's interested in buying a property, selling a property, or investing in real estate that I can talk to help them in 2019? Because I have a goal for myself of helping 3 people sell their home in 2019. So who do you know that I can help? That works, whether it's your best friend, your mother.
I mean, it did say that part, I just didn't like.
So you did use a script.
Okay, yes.
You
yes.
just
Modified
it to sound natural, which is fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't feel like that's me talking, reading that script off like that.
Right.
And, you know, people are gonna be asking me if I've had a stroke, like, why are you
Why are you talking like that?
Yep.
Right.
Perfect. So you called them, you followed up, told them what you're doing, and now you got an appointment. Awesome. You got a real appointment though.
Not a real appointment, a dinner.
We're gonna do dinner sometime. Make that a Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Get that appointment. That's key.
That's another script, huh? Like having that's what I noticed in one of the scripts. It was like have like 2 different options of time, like this time and
Yeah.
this time.
Yep. That's
What works for you?
Yep. It's alternative close. So what's better for you? Do you want to meet in the morning or the afternoon?
Right.
Oh, afternoons are better. Great. You want to meet today in the afternoon, or is tomorrow better for you?
Like that sheet.
To finally, it helps to lead them to get it in the books.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
There it is. That's it.
It's totally natural. People do it all the time.
Yeah.
When you're in a restaurant, they don't come over and go, would you like to order a drink today? Maybe.
Can I get you to drink?
Kinda. Right? They walk right over to you and they go, so what are you guys gonna have to drink? Why is that? I've never been a waiter, so I don't know the actual numbers behind it. But they want to beef up that check, right? Like you make
I'm a
7.
server, so absolutely.
Right? That's the whole point of it. And nobody ever does that. And they never walk over and like,
Upselling is constant.
constant. Right? I'm sorry, I roll back to the first minute. That's normally how I start every class because I think it's important for people to realize. Have you ever been a salesperson before you did real estate? Just one?
Yeah.
2? 3? No? So everybody's hand should go up for that all the time. Have you ever asked anyone on a date? Have you ever upsold someone in a restaurant? Have you ever asked your parents for ice cream? Have you ever?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever gotten something from your significant other that you really, really wanted to get? Whatever that was, a car, a piece of jewelry, whatever it is, right? It's all sales. We do it all the time. We just don't think of it as sales. Real estate is the same kind of thing. We do it all the time.
I feel like it's manipulation, not so much of a sale. It's my husband.
You can call it what you want, whatever works for you. Yeah. It's sometimes people get a little bit like, I'm selling. You're not selling. You're finding out what their problem is and how you can help solve it.
I'm learning that's working with my 6-year-old twins. Just like asking them questions or like saying, does this work or this work? You know, or like, just asking the questions instead of, but why? You know what I mean? And going down that whole route.
Kids are the best salespeople, man. They
oh yes, they are, right? They're
can I get an ice cream? No, you can't get an ice cream. And the next thing you know, they're on the ground kicking and screaming. You're like, okay, I'll go.
Yeah.
They get their way. So let's watch this, and I hope this works. what's up? Okay.
Lead generation is your #1 job. You have started by calling your Mets, your sphere of influence. You have even reached out via social media. But what do you do when you run out of contacts? Where can you find more leads? There are many places you can find additional prospecting opportunities. Think about your children's sporting events or activities. And don't forget about your own organizations and clubs. Your children's school or PTA would be an excellent source for contacts, as well as your place of worship. Even your mechanic. They rely on referrals for their business just like you do. Using these and other sources for prospecting opportunities will lead to more contacts and referrals that will grow your business. More contacts and referrals will lead to more appointments, listings, and closings. This will help you meet and exceed your goals. Lead generation is your #1.
I got it. Okay. So lead generate, right? If you, I know you guys don't all have this, so just want to find the right page. If you turn to page 13, handwritten notes. So here's one of the things you'll hear a lot of the different agents that are doing this successfully talk about. Handwritten notes. Because millennials, when's the last time you got a handwritten note in the mail?
Oh,
It's been a while there, okay? When's the last time you got a handwritten note in the mail from somebody?
Other than a birthday card or something, it's
Okay.
Last week.
Last week?
Thank you note.
A thank you note from somebody?
Yeah.
How was that something that happens all the time, or did that?
Not all the time, but there's been a few this year so far.
A few this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so does it stand out? Does it mean anything to you?
It does, yeah. I mean, it's exciting to get a little card in the mail from a friend, just to.
What about you, Karen?
Yeah, no, I don't get any.
Actually,
My kids
I got one
do for
yesterday
birthday
from
parties.
my captain, my team captain.
Right.
She gave us.
It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Even
Maybe
Patrice,
birthday
who said
cards,
she's
yeah.
gotten a few this year, that's probably like your top handwritten note getter, I think, of most people. Like, it's not something that happens every
Well,
week.
and they're thank you notes, so.
They're thank you
Things
notes.
that are, you know,
Yeah.
gifts. or-
So,
Right.
write a note to the people that you called. If it's a friend of yours that you're going to go out with next week, write them a note. You know what? I'm so glad we touched base. Can't wait to meet you next week for dinner. I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can help each other out. Boom. Right? If it's your friend you're going to coffee with, hey, thanks so much for taking my call today. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you for half an hour. Boom. If it's your friend that gives you his friend's parents' number, so that you can go, hey, thanks so much for helping me out. Especially a millennial. Like, when's the last time you or any of your friends got a handwritten note? They're going to be like, what is this? But it's cool to get. It always makes you feel good. I always do handwritten notes. I can't say that it's the difference between success and not success. I will say there's one time there was someone I was working on for I'm sorry, I just keep interjecting these stories because I like to keep it real world, but there was somebody that I was kind of going after that listing. It was an expired listing. You know what that is? It was an expired listing, and it was a for sale by owner. Like, this woman had been trying to sell her house for a long time. So I got in touch with her initially, and I wrote her a little note after I spoke with her on the phone, and then months later, it ended up going through another cycle. I think she listed it with someone else again, and it was months later down the road. And this time when I reconnected with her, I wrote her a handwritten note afterwards, and I put in a $5 Dunkin' Donuts card. So you can't really pay people for referrals and things like that, but there's no reason you can't just say, hey, thank you, and here's a $5 card to anyone ever. You can do that to a friend, you can do that to a client, whatever, right? So I basically wrote her a little note. It's so nice reconnecting with you. I'm looking forward to meeting you, blah, blah, blah. And then a little $5 Dunkin' Donuts card. when I got the appointment, which I did, and I went to her house, she had a stack of letters from realtors,
Oh my
like
goodness.
that high, sitting in her living room. So a lot of those letters were pre-printed letters from these different teams and groups and blah, blah, blah. And mine's this little handwritten note with a $5 coffee card. And she even mentioned to me, she's like, oh, that was really nice, thank you for the coffee card, that was nice of you to think of me.
Such a part, such
$362,000 listing, $5 coffee card, and handwritten note. I mean, I don't know if that was the one thing that differentiated me from everybody else. It didn't hurt,
a.
right?
Are you on a team or are you?
No, I'm a solo.
Okay,
Yeah.
just curious.
Yep. So, does that make sense? So the handwritten notes, I always do handwritten notes. So like today, I talked to a couple people, one of whom is old co-worker's sister who we just all kind of got together there. So I'm writing handwritten notes to all those guys. So they all were together, everybody met. How many of the people there are gonna write handwritten notes to everyone else? Zero. None of them are gonna do it. I know none of them are gonna do it. So they're all gonna get a handwritten note from me, just saying, hey, it was so nice seeing you guys. You know, can't wait till we catch up again soon. Done. Takes a few minutes, 45-cent stamp, and you're done. So write handwritten notes. So whoever you talk to today, make a note of it that you're gonna write handwritten notes for them today. The next page is talking about, it's a big funnel, right? Yep. Okay, so why is lead generation important? Is this necessary, or do you all know this?
I think we got it, but it's the only way you're gonna get business.
Yeah, only way to get business, right? The tricky part is when you start getting all the business to stay focused on lead generating. Because you're always lead generating for 30, 60, 90 days, 120 days, or in my case, 400 days in advance. So you gotta keep that lead generation pipeline. So lead generation with the funnel, this is a great visual. So the top of the funnel is your leads.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing lead generation for the last month.
Okay.
And I'm finding it hard to even, I mean, some of it I followed through with, some of it I haven't, because I feel like there's always something next that I have to do. I have to be a goal, I have to be Ignite, I have to be a graduation, I have to do this.
Yep.
So how do you, like, I got a CMA done last night, a couple days ago, for my friend, and I was just like, so excited, and you know, I called her and I'm gonna get together with her. She just kind of wants to know what her house is worth.
Yeah.
She thinks she wants to sell it, but she's not sure. So whatever. So we're just gonna meet, and she's a good friend of mine.
Yep.
But I'm like focusing just to get that done because I'm struggling to get it done because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
So I'm trying to, you know, my friend Lily in Auburn who's in the business, she helped me go through it. I mean, I did the actual manipulation of the mouse, but she's like, are you lost? And I'm like, yeah. It's gonna take you a few days to do them,
Yep.
to understand really how to follow it all the way through.
Yep.
And then they were telling me over there, oh, you have to go to the town office, or you have to Google the tax stuff, and then she showed me on the MLS that you can push the realist button and get all the tax stuff right there.
Yep.
So I just don't understand why they're not telling me that stuff.
So, is your question, how do you do 100 hours worth of work in 24 hours?
Yeah, right.
How do you, I
When
mean,
you're-
how do you
when
do
you're
lead
learning
gen plus keep up with what you're trying to do and follow through and do all these little niceties
Yeah.
and then live your life?
Time blocking.
Yeah. Time blocking is huge, for sure. The other part of that, I think visually, and when you're new in real estate, I think of it like, if you've ever seen those guys at the circus with spinning plates,
Mm-hmm.
when you're brand new, you are one stick, one plate, and it's wobbly, right? You're trying your best to spin that thing. If you just keep spinning it for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, you start getting the hang of it. Well, guess what? As soon as you get the hang of it, they're giving you another stick with another plate. And now you're like, wobbly again. When you're starting in real estate, you've got a few different sticks going all at once. And it's kind of tough because you haven't done it that much. The more you do it, the more you realize you can handle it. Then you can handle 3, then you can handle 4. I mean, there's guys like, Nick Danbury and Jeff Matea and Ann Chinquette and, all these agents around here that are probably able to spin 8 or 9 plates right now, because they've been doing it for a long time and they're good at it. Does that make sense?
It does.
There's no one way to make that work, except those CMAs are gonna take you less time when you've done 30 of them.
Yeah.
Following up with someone and making that phone call, you're gonna be more efficient because you've done it over and over and over and over and over. That listing appointment that might take you, when you sit with your friend the first time, it might take you 45 minutes or an hour, whereas once you've done it 30 or 40 times, it'll take you 25 to 30 minutes, because you've got it. There's a lot less fluff, and it's just boom.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, there's no perfect answer. I felt the same way when I started. I was in classes all the time, so I knew it was important to learn. And then they kept telling me lead generate, and I'm going, but I'm in class. How can I lead generate while I'm in class? Oh, and then I got to follow up with somebody from last
And
week.
I've got 2 part-time jobs and I have 2 kids.
Exactly.
Where's
So-
self-care come into all of this? There is none.
Yeah. So it's a matter of getting more efficient at what we're doing here, and also
Do you think it's important to get good at something and then move to the next thing, or
get good at lead gen. Get good at it.
That's the most important thing.
Fill this pipeline with lead gen and then lead follow-up. Because a lot of people will drop the ball. So the first one is lead generating, because that's in your control. That's 100% in your control. No matter what happens, rain, winter, you don't know anybody in town, you don't know anyone over 40, whatever your situation, right?
Everybody always picks it.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation is, we can always control how many people we're putting into that funnel. And the more people we put in the funnel, it's just a numbers game, we're gonna get better results. Then there's appointments. So the whole point of lead generating is appointments. So if you're great at lead generation, but you never get an appointment, it's tough to do business, right? Quick story. So my brother does real estate in Los Angeles. He does commercial real estate, and he's very, very successful at it. So I was in the business for about 6 months, and so I started in the fall, so it was just spring. It was just starting like this time of year where you're starting to get those 60-degree days. And I had been doing a lot of lead gen on the phone. Gorgeous sunny day, and I'm like, I just can't sit in my home. I was in a home office. I'm like, I can't sit in my house and make phone calls today. It's so nice. I got to get outside. So I went out and was door knocking an area around a listing I had that I was going to do an open house. And as I'm going around and doing this, my brother calls me and I'm talking to him on the phone. And I said, yeah, I feel kind of bad. Like I'm not using my time well because I'm out door knocking for this appointment, and I know if I was on the phone, I would get a lot more people. I mean, you can call more people in an hour than you can knock on doors. That's a no-brainer, right? And he said, well, how many people did you meet today? I said, probably about 14 people that I've actually like gone up and had conversations with. He said, okay, and what's the point of getting on the phone? To meet people.
Yeah.
To get appointments.
To meet people in person.
Right? You're not selling them on the phone. You're not
Right.
doing a presentation on the phone. It's just to contact people, to make the connection, to get the appointment. So he's like, you just skipped the phone part. You just had 14 appointments. It was a little bit of a mind flip for me, because I'm going, oh, okay, so that was pretty good. I just skipped the phone call part and just went out and met them.
So specifically knocking on somebody's door, what information do you walk away from when you're done?
It's a great question. There's a script for that.
The answer I was looking for.
It depends on the situation. So if you can, I mean, for me, I'm always trying to get I want to get their information because I want to have control
Wanna
over
walk
whether
away with phone numbers, names.
phone number, email. I've obviously got their address because I'm at their house. Handwritten note, I'm at their house. This person that I had the appointment with last week, that I had been talking to since January 5th, 2017, she originally, I was circle prospecting, where you call around a listing.
Yeah.
And I called this woman, and she was concerned about flood zone changes, like flood maps were changing, the FEMA maps and all this stuff, that she just had concerns about it. So I kind of talked her through a little bit. I hooked her up with a surveyor, and she ended up having someone come out and doing that, and I followed up with that. And so that's how the whole conversation started back in 2017.
Helping her get answers to the questions you didn't have.
Handwritten note, so nice talking to you, blah, 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 blah. Went in the mail, more phone calls, put her into my machine here with the funnel. So now every month she gets my newsletter in email form. So I call her periodically, you know, I don't know, every 3 months or so, just, hey, how's it going? Has anything changed with your plans? Are you still thinking the same way? Blah, blah, blah. That's it. And then when it got to a point, 2 years and 4 months later, she finally was at a point where she was ready to think about what she was gonna do. I'm already in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It all started with a phone call, or it could have been a door knock,
Yeah.
same thing. That's just that's the first step.
I mean, the reason that I ask that is because, you know, the neighbor, you're going there to see if, you know, you have anybody that you'd like to be your neighbor instead, but how do you pull their information from them when you're asking if they know somebody else that they would like to buy the house next door and be their neighbor?
Read the script.
Okay.
It answers that question, because in the script it says stuff similar to, do you know anyone to be interested in the house next door? It's a chance for you to pick your own neighbor. And if they say yes, you do one thing. If they say no, you say great. If you're anything like me, you might think of somebody 10 minutes after I walk away. What's your email or phone number? What's the best way to get a hold of you so that I can follow up and just make sure that, you know.
Yeah, I see, okay.
I know you're not interested in buying that house. Obviously you're not. You live right here and you're happy, and that's great. Do you ever like need anyone around your house, like pest control or painters or landscapers? You ever looking for home pros? I have a whole list of them that I've vetted. I'd be happy to share them with you. What's the best way to get it to you? Is it email or is it texting or? So I just, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And again, it's you have a problem. I don't know what it is yet, but I know you have a problem, and I'm here to solve it.
Perfect, no, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's a script. It's straight in. Yep, straight in the scripts. So appointments is the next part of the funnel, and then that goes to agreements. Agreements goes to contracts. Contracts goes to closing, which is payday. So the general gist of this is you start at the top. Every single person you talk to is going to lead to a closing.
Not everybody. No.
Not everybody. However, there's a lot of stuff that happens between appointments, agreements, and contracts, and there's a lot of stuff that happens that sometimes is totally out of our control. There are people that you start working with that don't end up closing, and sometimes it's wacko stuff that happens that has nothing to do with your control over it. What does have your control 100% is leads, how many people you put into that funnel. So that's why so much focus is on lead gen, because it's totally in your control. It doesn't matter what's going on, you can always lead gen. There's people that have operations and break their leg and they sit on the phone and lead gen. Like, you can always do it no matter what happens.
Have you purchased any like lead type stuff that you see people doing? I was just wondering. To like for phone calls.
You're just asking me personally? If I have?
Yeah.
I've never purchased a lead. The only thing I've paid for is I've paid for some direct marketing stuff, like little note cards or something to go out in an area.
Yeah, right.
And I've paid for a service that allows me to, it gives me the info so I can call for sale by owners and expires.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying.
But if I don't make the phone calls, nothing happens. It's not a service that gives me anything. It's just, I have now access
You've got all the, yeah.
to call these people.
Now, what is that?
The one I use is called Vulcan 7,
Okay.
and there's a bunch of different ones.
Okay.
Which one is best to use is up to you if you want to use it
The
or not.
cheapest one. That's the cheapest one.
No.
I mean, I got paid for $250 a month they want for phone numbers.
Yeah, so I personally have never bought like Zillow or Realtor.com, right? I've never purchased any of that, not a single dime. I don't think for me it makes sense to do that. I'd rather do the lead gen, and I'd rather do the follow-up, and I'd rather do I think it makes sense for me to pay for that service, because if I wanna call for sale by owners,
Yeah.
and if I wanna
Yeah.
call expires,
And to
it
be
makes it more
looking
efficient
through-
for me to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm not paying for them to give me leads, I'm paying for a service that allows me to do my work more efficiently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, cause I was
So-
wondering how people also, call all those expireds, and to be on, MLS and to be looking at all the expireds every time, if there's,
I think-
what's the fastest way to do it? That sounds like.
I think it's different strokes for different folks. I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. It just depends on how you're gonna make it work. The key is putting people in that funnel.
Yeah,
So whatever works for you to get people in that funnel, you gotta just do it. Do it like there's no tomorrow. Get people in that funnel. Did that answer your question?
yes.
Okay. So benefits of prospecting, myth versus truth. That's the next page, sorry, page number 16. So the myth of prospecting, it's annoying people and it's rejection. Okay? Does anyone think like that? No?
A little bit.
A little bit? Annoying
Yeah.
people, rejection?
Well, like I did an open house for Marnie in Auburn,
Uh-huh.
and I got 3 people. So
Uh-huh.
I got a couple, 2 ladies that came in, they were together,
Okay.
and they don't have an agent. And then 2 other ladies came in, who, one's married with kids and one's a single lady.
Yep.
And I called all of them to follow through and say, it was nice meeting you at the open house the other night,
Yeah.
I'd love to get together with you. Did the whole thing, oh, I understand you're busy, that's okay, I'll get back to you, I'll catch up with you again, and
Yep.
it was fun as well, have a great day. So now I'm like, okay, I did that, now what do I do?
And?
Cause they didn't respond or anything, so now I'm just gonna call them back again.
Why not?
Should I email them this time? Cause they have their
Yeah,
emails.
send it up.
Why not?
Do it all.
I find that people are more
Yeah.
likely to respond to an email than a phone call. In
Give
my
it a
experience so
shot.
far. Like, I have a young couple that are looking in the Norway area, and when I call and leave a message, I don't hear from her, but if I send her an email,
Yeah.
she answers me back within a few hours.
You gotta meet
It's-
people,
yeah.
you gotta meet people
Yeah.
where they're at. So you have somebody who likes to email and responds to emails, email with them. You have someone who texts and doesn't respond to phone calls, text them. You gotta kinda meet people where they're at, and as far as like annoying people and rejection, what you're talking about isn't annoying people and rejection. It's just about what is their problem and how are you gonna help them solve it. Right? Those people came to the open house. Why did they come to an open house?
Cause they wanted to see the house and they're looking for a home.
Right.
So they're
Or either
actively,
daydreaming or whatever.
okay, so they're actively looking for a home, why?
Well, the couple, the 2 ladies that were together, they've been living in an apartment and they want a home of their own, and they're tired of paying out the landlord money, they want something that's gonna be theirs that they're investing in.
So is their goal to drive around and go to open houses for the next 6 months, or is their goal to get in a house?
I think their goal is probably to get a house.
Who's the best person to help them
Me.
get into a house?
There you go.
Bingo. Do they have a mortgage broker that they're working with? Are they pre-qualified?
We didn't really get into all of that too much, so.
What's the first thing they're gonna need to buy a
They
house?
need
Money,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people don't realize that. It's all about that mindset of you're coming from contribution. You're helping them out.
Yeah.
You're talking them, look, I get it. You wanna get into a house? Perfect, wonderful. First thing you need to do is get pre-qualified. Let's find out how much money you can afford. Cause if you can afford 280 and you're looking at houses for 320, that stinks. You're setting
Yeah.
yourself up for a really poor experience.
It's just getting the idea that you are the professional, and, I hear some of the agents talking like, man, they're talking down to these people, but they're really just informing them, like, if you look at it from different, they're informing them that, like I heard one guy saying, well, I know your husband's got a bad taste when it comes to real estate agents, you know,
Yeah.
I really like the opportunity to change that story for him, and
Yeah.
he's trying to get in through the wife to meet with the husband, because
Yeah.
he's obviously the decision maker,
Yeah.
you know, and I could, you know, there was silence, you know, you could tell there was silence on her end, he winked at me, you know, cause he's from our gold group, Michael.
Yeah.
And I was like, good job. But I felt like, if I was that wife, I would feel like, kind of like, geez, he's trying to push me into this situation I don't wanna go, cause I know it's gonna piss my husband off.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I've
I
had
mean,
a
that
lot.
wasn't my experience, I had a really good husband, but,
I've had a lot of people that when they're in person, it's they have walls and barriers up, and then when you finally get in front of them, you find that some of those barriers and walls really have nothing to do with you, and it's
Yeah.
not like they had a bad experience with realtor. Well, what happened? Did something happen like 10 years ago, and they're still holding on to that?
yeah, which people.
And then when they meet you and they go, wow, you're not like that at all. You're really nice and you're helping me get what I need.
Yeah,
It can change. So that's why the appointment's so important. Because face to face, in person,
yes,
you got a chance to really shine and
win
show
them
them what
over,
you're
yeah.
all. So the other part of this, the truth about prospecting, meeting people, building purposeful business relationships, and a strong real estate business. They're dropping like flies. Losing them all. Epic fail.
Where the hell did he go?
Big failure.
No, you
don't.
don't think it would be a
They
good.
got no lead gen, they can't wait any longer.
That's it, lead gen, I'm going out right now. So this is really the mindset that helps a lot with all the prospecting, because it's a grind to get out there all the time and keep doing. If our mindset is how we can help these people with whatever their situation is, that makes it a little easier to do the lead gen, because we're not trying to sell stuff, we're not trying to trick people. It's about, let's figure out what they need and I'm gonna help them. Sometimes they need info on flood maps. Sometimes they need a painter. Sometimes they need to get pre-qualified for a loan. Whatever that is, I'm gonna help them get that. The 4 C's of prospecting: capture, connect, cultivate, and close. Or capture, connect, close. One or the other. So you capture leads by getting their contact information. So that gets back to what your question was, Patrice, about when you're door knocking. Same could be said when you're on the phone. How do you get their information?
Yeah.
You ask for it. Follow the scripts. And remember, it's funny because Gabe is a millennial, and he was saying like his friends don't answer the phone, but then they'll text back. That's just how they communicate. So I don't know if this is generational or not, but I don't like cold calls. Like anytime I get a cold call, I'm the worst, man. I hang up on people all the
That's how
time.
I feel too. So-
I don't like when people come knocking on my door, trying to sell me stuff.
Yeah.
I'm polite, kind of, but I basically just shut the door. So for me, I always have me in the back of my
Right,
mind
yeah. Right.
when I'm on the phone or when I'm door knocking. So the first thing I tell people, almost all the time, like we have a Keller Williams apps on our phone.
Yeah.
So the first thing I tell people about the app, I go, hey, it's private. When you put my app, I mean, it's free, obviously. When you put my app on your phone, it's totally private. When you're searching for homes, I have no idea what you're doing. Nobody has any, there's no cookies, there's no backdoor marketing going on. It is private. Because for me, privacy is like a really important thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm always kind of coming from that perspective. It's my own bias, I guess. There's probably a lot of people that don't care. That's just kind of where I come from. When I'm knocking on someone's door and I'm asking for their email, I'm not doing this because I'm not selling your information. I'm not looking to put you on any list. I'm going to give you relevant real estate information as things happen. You know, a few months ago, the interest rate dropped unexpectedly. If there was somebody looking for a house and all of a sudden the interest rate drops, is that information that they should have, that they would want to know?
Definitely.
That's the kind of stuff I share. You know, and so I'll put them on drip campaign is what we call it, but it's where they get information from us emailed to them regularly. So I do a monthly newsletter that goes out. It's all set up already on eEdge or whatever it's called now. And so that goes out to people. It's not bombarding them every single day with more emails from me. It's, if they don't like it, they can always opt out of it, no problem. I guess my point is, when I'm capturing people's info, I'm making sure they understand this is what I want your info for. And then sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. Yeah, I think it helps me to get more people's info coming from that work perspective. Then connect by establishing relationships. So how do you connect and establish a relationship with someone? I mean, anything and everything. It's a friend that has a husband that's in building and real estate. It's another friend who has houses. It's a friend who has a parent who has a house. It's all different kinds of people. It's the guy that you meet, whatever. My first week in the business, I think, first or second week, I was taking bold. I was calling on for sale by owners, and I called this one for sale by owner. It turned out that the guy who was selling the house, so I called him, I made the appointment, I went over and met with him. Mind you, I've only been in the business for 2 weeks at this point. I'm sitting there talking to him, and he flips houses. So this house wasn't completely done yet, but it was mostly done, and he was showing me around. We sat there talking, and it turns out he does a lot of houses, flips houses every year, and he always gives the listing to the agent that brought him the opportunity. So some agent sees a house that needs a lot of work, makes a deal, gets this guy in there, and so he then, when he does flip it, he sells it with that same agent. So the first thing I told him was like, I appreciate that loyalty, right? I want that loyalty, because when I bring you a property, I don't want to have to worry about you going to some other agent. I want you to let me list it. So that's awesome that you have that kind of loyalty. And it was the beginning of connecting and establishing a relationship. Hey, I'm brand new in this business. Don't take my word for it. Watch what I do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be one of your favorite agents to work with. And then kept in contact, handwritten letters, phone calls, following up, meet for coffee. Let me see some of the other jobs you're working on. Right? Fast forward a year and a half later, I'm working with him. He's helping me with there was a house that I was listing that had one bathroom, and I knew if it had a second bathroom, that would really add a lot of value to that house. And the homeowner didn't really want to spend the money to make it a bathroom. So this contractor came in, did the work, so the price went up on the house, and it made it more sellable, and he got paid after closing a little bit more, about 15 to 20% more than he would have gotten. So that was the benefit to him. So I gave him some work. The seller got more money for their house, so they're happy without having to spend anything up front. So it was a total win-win situation, but I used him for that, and this was probably a year and a half after we initially talked. It was the first time we actually did some business together. Then I found him a flip, finally. So he's now working on that flip, and that's going to be done in the next 4 weeks. So I'll be the listing agent on that. And then he's got another flip that this other person and him are working on, that they're bringing me in as a listing agent on that. So this all happened because of capturing his information, connecting with him, forming that relationship, and now I'm going to have 2 listings coming out of this, plus whatever business I generate from the listings on top of it. So really important to kind of connect, establish a relationship, and then finally close them for an appointment and eventually buying or selling real property. So you got to meet people where they're at. Sometimes we'll take a break in a few minutes. Do you need one now?
Yeah, no, actually.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. She's like, I'm
Let's
good.
wait back here.
I'm good.
Like,
Couple more minutes.
I'll be good.
We'll take a break. So close them for an appointment, eventually buying or selling real property. So the whole like sales part of real estate that I find interesting is it's not a hard sell. It's a really, really soft sell, because it's hard to take someone who is looking to sell their house in a year and make them sell it now.
Right, yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
If they're really ready to sell now, but they're thinking, it's going to be a year because they just don't understand that they can sell it now, that's different. But if someone's really not interested, or if someone's 22 years old and they're like, I don't want to buy a house right now, it's pretty hard to get them to buy a house.
Yeah.
right? You gotta kind of meet people where they're at. Those people though are gonna eventually get to that point, and when it comes time to when they're at that point, you gotta close them.
Yeah.
You must do that. Cultivate them to maintain and strengthen your relationship. So cultivating can come before or after. So for me, my experience isn't the same as everyone else. If you go and take a poll of all the Keller Williams agents, a lot of them might have very different experience than me. For me, a lot of my business is capture, connect, cultivate, close. I do a lot of that. There's a lot of people that it just takes months to get to the point where we're ready to do business together. And I don't think it's because I'm afraid to close them or ask for the business. I think they're just not at that point when the timing, when I connect with them and I start making that relationship, it's not time to buy and sell. A few months later it is.
Yeah.
So.
But you're filling that pipeline now, so those people, so that the people you connected with a while ago are now coming up on
Correct.
ready
Yeah.
to do it, and those people will down the road.
Right. It's both.
No, yeah.
It's not. I'm not relinquishing myself to just, if I talk to someone today, they're not going to do anything for 8 months.
Right.
I'm always ready. Like you're ready to buy tomorrow? Great, let's do it. I'm just understanding that that's just what's happened with my business, with the people that I'm putting in my pipeline.
I have a question. An interesting thing I've been coming across with my.
Can we do a break real quick?
Oh,
and
yeah,
then,
sure.
Then do
Yeah,
your question?
yeah, definitely.
Let's do a break.
That'd be great.
Yes, go do your thing. Do a break.
Sounds good.
Let me pause this thing.
Yeah, so, it's interesting that, some of my friends that I've come in contact with, part of my sphere that I've been letting know, they do wanna sell their house, but but they don't have anything lined up, which makes them scared, you know what I mean? So, because things are selling quickly,
Right.
and then in order to, cause they wanna downsize or, buying the house buying something else is what's scaring them on the other end. So getting to that point of them listing.
I think what a lot of people have mentioned so far that I've heard is that you can put a contingency in your deal that allows them to find suitable housing after they accept an offer on their house. So it can give you whatever that timeline is that you specify in the contract for them to find housing, or that offer is null and void, or you revisit.
Yeah, but how long can that be?
I think that's up to,
I
maybe.
mean,
But if you wanna put in a contingency, I think you can put any number of days that the person who's
60
offer
days,
will
90
agree to.
days,
Yeah.
whatever.
Cause it's things that you're writing in.
Well, what if they're like, okay, I need to sell this place before I have the money to buy this place?
Yeah.
that's
So-
what I'm talking about, yeah.
So that happens a lot, what you're talking about, especially in this market. Because do you think people hear about the houses that sat around on the market for a long time and price reductions and didn't sell? Or do you think people hear about, oh, my friend's house went up, put it on the market in 3 days, they had 42
Yeah.
offers, right? Why am I wearing this thing? I just realized I'm wearing this. I always forget that I have it on because I'm so used to wearing it all the time. So people don't hear about that, right? They only hear about everything selling. Look on MLS right now. How many houses? What's the area that you focus on mostly?
I guess North Deering, cause that's where. I
North
live.
Deering. That's where you live.
Yeah.
Look in North Deering
Mm.
or 04103.
Yeah.
How many houses in the last 100 days have sold? How many houses are on the market? You'll be surprised.
Okay.
There is inventory. Everyone says no inventory, no inventory, no inventory.
Yeah.
Because there's certain houses that sell in a day.
Yeah.
There's also certain houses that ain't selling.
Yeah.
And they're getting price reductions and they're sitting around. So for someone like that, it's important to explain to them, either through financing, they can make a contingent offer, right? Or you also have that conversation with someone in a market like this. The people that you're talking about, are they looking for something?
Yeah,
that-
so they might be living, in North Deering, it just so happens that the friends that I'm thinking about, 3 different people, have homes in North Deering and they wanna go to condos, but it doesn't have to be in North Deering though,
So condos in Portland?
in Portland or Greater Portland,
And are they trying to downsize?
downsize.
Are they trying to spend less money?
Yes,
Do you think everyone and their mother is looking for an affordable, really nice condo in Portland right now?
yeah, there are, that's right.
So-
It is just as expensive as a single family home,
So here's the
like,
thing to,
that's-
to have the conversation. Again, this comes straight from scripts. There's a script on that. Talking about a buyer, right? There's different types of buyers out there. So what I found really useful is in that situation, which I come across a lot, I'm
Yeah.
actually dealing with someone right now. They know their house is gonna sell. I already told them, I go, your house is gonna sell quickly.
Yeah.
Not even a question. The thing is, what they're looking for is really, really, really hard to find.
Mm.
So the first thing I do is, let's get working as a client relationship, right?
Right, yeah.
I'm gonna be your buyer agent,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start finding, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna hunt, where do you wanna be?
Mm.
And they're gonna say, I want a condo in Portland for under 300,000 with at least 2 bedrooms, first floor, great, let's pinpoint some stuff. If there's nothing there, I'm door knocking that area. I'm finding you that place, because number one, when I find you that place, that person, I'm now gonna get that condo that's not even on the market that nobody knows about.
Mm.
That condo is now gonna sell using me,
Yeah, listing, yeah.
and
You gotta buy it.
my client has now got a place to go,
Mhm.
which means their house is now able to be listed, which is me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got myself 3 pieces of business, because I went out there and did the work,
I love it,
right?
love it.
The other thing to think about with these people is you have to let them know, our job is to help them with their problem.
Yeah.
Solve their problem. Do you want that person to go out there, find that condo tomorrow, which is the one they really want, and realize there's no way in hell they're gonna get it because their house isn't sold yet?
Yeah,
Not only is their house not sold, it's not under contract,
right,
it's not even on the market, it's not even ready to list. They ain't getting that condo.
yeah,
So we want them to be in a position to win. So guess what, Mr. or Mrs. Seller? In order for you to be in the best position to buy the place you're looking for, we gotta have your house somewhere further along this continuum. There's where you're at right now, which is you've got 22 years of stuff and your kids' stuff, and you gotta clear it out, you gotta get it ready, you gotta do pictures, you got, right?
yeah,
All the way to you've sold your house and now you're just sitting there waiting to move in. The best buyer is the one who has nothing to sell, cash deal, ready to go, right?
right,
But you could be under contract
mm-hmm,
on your house, that would be a pretty strong position as a buyer.
yeah,
You could be, it's listed, but it's not under contract yet. Or you could be, we're ready to list next week. Does that make sense?
yeah,
So
I get that, yeah.
I don't wanna get too far off this, but another quick story, cause I like stories, cause I think it helps. When I was new, I liked hearing what other people did, cause it's
Yeah.
real world, it's not like imagining. When I first started, I had a buyer who had a house to sell, they knew they would sell right away, and they wanted something very specific. So I got them to commit, signed up with me as their agent.
Yeah,
I went out to the neighborhood I knew they wanted to be in, and there were 2 houses in that neighborhood that they were interested in that we drove by together. And I went to go knock on the guy's door that had one of those 2 houses. When I went over to him, there were guys there like doing some work on the front, and it turns out the guy was thinking about selling in the next couple weeks, and he was doing some work on his floor to get his house ready.
wow,
Right? Crazy,
Wow.
Easy enough.
So I said, can I bring my clients in to look at your house? They're interested in 2 houses in all of Scarborough, yours is one of them. They're qualified and ready to go. Can we look at your house? He said, yeah, bring them in. Now, I brought my clients in and they ended up not liking it, because the inside wasn't what they wanted. The point is, opportunity was there. I found these guys another house that we went and looked at, because another one popped up. And the day we went and looked at it and left, they said, love it, this is the one. I said, great, because this was the hard part for them, was finding the house, not selling their house.
right,
Right? The guy who was the listing agent on that house, I called him to say, hey, my clients really like it, we're gonna make an offer. He said, oh, we just went under contract today. Somebody had saw it 2 days earlier. There was a kick-out clause, and so I explained to that listing agent, because their kick-out clause was on some out-of-state buyers, and I said, look, my clients, here's their house. It is cleaned out, ready to go, I've already done pictures, we're ready to list the house. This is where it is, this is the price we're listing it for. You and I both know that house is gonna be gone in 3 days. Do you wanna take a risk on these out-of-state people that you have no idea what their situation is, or do you wanna go with my clients? And we made a strong offer, and he took our offer.
And he could do that because of a kick-out
He
clause?
gave, well, the kickout clause enabled them 48 hours.
Oh, okay, okay.
So they had just gone under contract with a house to sell. It didn't sell in 48 hours. They couldn't get rid of their kickout clause. So they were gone. We came in. My point is, he took our offer, even though we had a house to sell too.
Mm.
Because I explained to him what the house was, and he knows the area, and he's like, boom.
Well, you also solved the problem for him that he almost didn't have with his
Yeah,
state
he-
buyer.
he couldn't have a problem,
you
It's out of his control.
yeah, you
right?
were proactive about an issue that he could have had
Absolutely.
and used that to sell.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what happened. We went under contract on Thursday, or we listed the house on Thursday. It was we did an open house Sunday, under contract Monday.
Mm.
And then kickout clause gone, now we're under contract, everything goes, so we ended up getting the house. But if my clients weren't ready to put their house on the market right then, we had already done pictures, they'd already cleaned out, it was ready to go. If that wasn't the case, that wouldn't have worked out. And you can use that story with your people to explain to them, they wanna be ready when that house comes on, so that they're in a strong position as a buyer to get it. Okay? Cause that's gonna happen a lot now. Okay, capturing, connecting, we already got that. Closing, different kinds of closes. This is a good page, number 20. Different types of closes. So the hard close, let's meet. Soft close, direct close, can we meet today, or would tomorrow be better? There's all these different types of closes. Whatever works for you is great. There is no right and wrong. Whatever works, whatever gets you that appointment is great. Don't not get an appointment. Make sure you get an appointment with people. You can't sell them over the phone, and I use selling them loosely. You can't explain and find out what's going on over the phone. It just doesn't work, right? How many cars do you sell over the phone?
A lot.
Without meeting them?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, how'd that work?
Door-to-door delivery service.
Door-to-door delivery service. So,
Surprisingly, it was a niche that I actually did better than most people there, but people used to hate being on the phones, but I liked it because it was efficient time-wise. But there was a lot less boxes to check doing that, whereas real estate, you probably can't do it on the phone. I would imagine you're accurate with that. But yes, I did sell a lot of cars on the phone.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, you can buy cars in the States.
Right, I'm just surprised that you don't get more business in person. Like your goal is
Well,
to get the in-person meetings.
It is, but when you can't, it was,
There's an option.
yeah.
Cool. So definitely get the in-person meetings in real estate.
Yeah.
For sure. You wanna have that. Your sphere of influence. So this is really important. It's kind of funny, but I think we tend to talk ourselves out of deals a lot. This person wouldn't wanna talk to me because blank. There's no way this guy is gonna do this because of blank. We kind of give ourselves these rationalizations, justifications for why people, bless you, why people won't wanna talk to us. The reality is, this whole big group, you might not approach everyone the same way, like your doctor, you might not approach the same way as you do your friend, or your parent, or the guy you play basketball with, or the person you know from the bartender at the bar you like to go to. It might not be the same way that you approach all these people, but all these people can benefit from what you have to offer them. It's just a matter of making those contacts with them. So your sphere of influence, there's a little thing we do, and I think it's really useful. Page 24. You have page 24. You can look
Yeah,
at page
I'm on.
24. Oh, you have it now?
Yeah.
Okay, you have it there, and I'll give this to you here. If you get a piece of paper and start filling out this chart, and don't judge, if a name pops in your head, write it down. For each one of these categories, try to write at least a couple names, and just go through and write names for the next 5 to 10 minutes. So immediate family, write names. A relative of yours, write the names. Neighbors, write the name, just write names down, just keep writing them right. If you've talked to them already, doesn't matter. Write the names down. And don't stop writing for 7 minutes. Write names. Don't judge, just write their names. Y'all got little thought bubbles going in your heads. Let's see them. One more minute. Write down those last few names. Don't stop. All right, good? How many names did you get? How many did you get?
I just was doing this first set. You know, so
1,
I
2,
realized
3,
that all
4,
these were
5,
different ones.
6, 5, 10. How many? 38 or 48? 38. You got like 30-ish? 49? Nice. So that is, every single one of those names is potential contacts. Figure out the best way to get a hold of them. The one thing you can't do is not call them. Doesn't matter if it's a texting person, a call, email, whatever it is, get a hold of those people and make sure you're doing it. Because the only way you don't succeed is when you just convince yourself it's not going to work and you don't call them. So figure out a way to get a hold of them. Eventually it leads to business. Okay, so next page, time blocking. Page 25. So on the left, she's the one who's asking about that. How do you guys do everything all at once? It gets a little overwhelming when you're brand new. So time blocking helps a lot. One of the things to do is, she had said, do you get really good at one thing? I would say that probably happens naturally for most of us. Like we find there's something we're good at, whether it's the actual initial phone call, whether it's the once I'm in front of someone, whether it's the preparation for the appointment, whatever it is, we find something we're really good at. So for me, affirmations and our big why, like that was always interesting. Do you all have, you don't have to share it, but do you have a big why? Do you know what that means? Yeah, and you do? Okay, so that is one of those things where focusing on that keeps us motivated, keeps us going. And then affirmations, I found like there's certain affirmations. I get really motivated when I get like kind of pumped up and ready to go. And typically it's, I don't want to say it's negative, it's a little frightening, but I like screaming and like yelling, like that kind of stuff gets me going.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what works for me. I look like a lunatic, and I usually do it like at my house and not in an office or somewhere in public. But it works, it gets me going. And so I use that as my affirmations, like every day it gets me mentally on track and ready to go. That's kind of how I think of affirmations. It's totally different people. Some people like to like meditate, just have something that they say that gets them in that space where they're in a good place. Whatever it is that gets you in a good place, find it and use it. I think that's really, really helpful. And practicing scripts. So there's tons of scripts in this book. Did you use scripts in your last job?
Yes and no. I mean, to the point where there were certain things that you asked and needed to do at certain times.
Yeah.
But, modify as much as you could to.
So the answer is yes.
Yes,
use
you can use scripts and certain things to happen.
Brand new person walks in.
Yeah.
They say, "Go out there and get him, Tiger."
Yeah, there's scripts.
There's scripts. They
There
say,
are-
"This is
there
what
are-
you say." When the guy comes in, walks in, just out of the blue, this is what you say to him. When it's a phone call, this is what you say to him.
Yeah.
When they say, "I'm just looking. I'm not really thinking about buying today."
Yeah.
This is what you say. When they say, "I have a car to trade in," this is what you say. There's scripts for everything, right? When the doctor tells me, "I love your drug, I use it all the time," this is what you say. When they say, "What about such and such a study that came out?" This is what you say. Scripts everywhere all the time, right? You walk into the store, "Hi, can I help you today?" "No, I'm just browsing." This is what you say. We all use scripts all the time. So get really good at these scripts, and what happens is you start to internalize them. So what you're talking about is you've internalized the script because you've done it so many times, and it kind of flows now almost like your language.
Yeah.
You are using the script, you've just made it yours. It's now your script, it's not someone else's script. And that's where you want to get. So I find it's really one of the, like, exciting isn't the right word for it. It's really nice when you're sitting down with someone in an appointment and they say an objection, because how many times do you think I've heard fill in the blank? But what you were talking about, like, "Well, I don't want to sell my house because it's going to sell really quick and I haven't found it." How many times do you think I've heard that?
A million times, yeah.
This is their first time.
Yeah,
I've heard this 100 times. I already know what the answer is to that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. You know what? And so, boom, we go through that. And a script kind of flies out of my mouth without me even thinking about it, which is really fun. That's when you know you've got those scripts internalized.
It's like that in any business, like even for your doctor's office, you know what to say to customers, like
Of
me,
course.
who used to show up and say, "Well, can't pay right now."
Get out!
Yes, bitch. No, I'm just kidding.
Come up with the money.
Get out.
So take action, prepare, take action, and maintain it. So taking action, obviously prospecting, updating your database. You've already talked about, I'm sure with Joe, he's gone over stuff with you about every day you need to do what, like 5 contacts, put 5 people in your database, write 5 letters, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Have you done that? No? You're all looking at me like no.
Semi.
Some variation of that.
I have
I
a
know.
whole, like 5 pages. I have all kinds of leads, but nothing in my database. Because I'm not real sure how to enter it in, and then once I enter it in, how do I tag it? Okay, this is my contacts, these are my leads, I got that figured out finally, that I wanna separate those 2 things.
Yeah?
But
how do I tag it so that they're getting, like, I tried to set up this stuff last night, you know, activate your Edge account. I didn't even understand the language.
So sit down with Charlotte and Joe, and
They just wanna send me to a video. They don't wanna work with me one-on-one, they wanna send me to a video.
I think they'll figure out a way to get you what you need to get that stuff in there. Give it a shot. Try. Flatter me. Humor me. Try.
I'll humor you, I went there with the CMA and she told me to watch a video. And what I needed was one-on-one
Yep.
attention to
Yeah.
get this paperwork done.
Well, I know they're busy, and maybe it wasn't at that time, but
That's it.
just
I mean,
figure out a
everybody, they want
time.
an appointment, but they're
Yeah.
very busy, they have a lot of people going to them, and to get an appointment, yeah, you can do it, well, if I gotta wait 3 days.
There's
to-
also Heather.
Yeah.
Heather's really good with tech stuff, and could probably show you any of
Yeah, I
that
met
stuff.
with her this week,
Yeah.
she gave me an hour and a half.
If it's a CMA or something like that, or what to do with a client, whatever, you can call me, I don't care, I'll talk to you.
Yeah,
I'll help you out.
I just need.
I'm just not really good with the tech stuff, so I'm not the right guy to throw
No,
down.
I just need a bunch of agents who are working as independents that aren't part of a team because, it looks different.
Yeah, there's a lot of us out there.
It
I'm
looks-
happy to help you, so you can call me for that kind of stuff. And then maintain, track results, schedule commitments, write thank you notes. So I starred write thank you notes because for me, I've been pretty consistent about that. My tracking, I've gotten better at. I find that it's important to track because if you don't, how do you know what's working, what's not working? So it got to a point for me where after tracking and figuring out and kind of getting my feet wet in the business, I realized that I don't need to track my number of hours of lead gen. I need to track my appointments. So I have a very simple focus of a certain number of appointments every single week. And I know when I'm hitting my appointments, everything's gonna work out, because I'm gonna close enough of those, and I'm gonna get enough business, and I'm gonna end up with enough closings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes I lead gen less, sometimes I lead gen more. I'm always focused on those appointments though.
Appointments meaning to sign with something, or
So
what are you counting?
appointments meaning meeting with people about real estate.
Okay.
So if I have coffee with a friend of mine, I don't really consider that an appointment, like for this kind of an appointment.
Right.
It still counts for me as like, that's more lead gen for
That's
me.
lead
I
gen,
consider
yeah.
that like the same as a phone call.
Yep.
If I start talking to that guy about real estate and we start figuring out, oh, your friend is looking for a place in Yarmouth, oh, you know, we should talk, and they're not, can I get his info? Now all of a sudden, it becomes an appointment, because it's real estate.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep, yep.
So that's the 3 steps. Preparing, I'm not gonna go through every detail in here. You need to prepare for your appointments. Obviously, you need to do what you need to do to be prepared. Don't worry about knowing every detail, I will say that. A lot of times when we're new, we get a little bit intimidated by the fact that we don't know everything.
Yeah.
It's okay. Even after, I mean, there's realtors that have been in business for 20 years that don't know everything, and things change all the time. So just get really good at telling people, like, you know what, that's a great question, let me find out for you, and I'll get back to you. And now I'm building even more credibility, because when I tell Gabe, I'm gonna get back to you tomorrow with an answer, and I get back to him tomorrow with an answer, I've now got the answer, which is great, but I also got credibility, because I got back to him, I followed up, I gave him what he wanted. So, rehearse your scripts, get really good at scripts. Scripts. Take action. Get out your database and call, which you're all gonna do, I'm sure. And maintain 30 minutes of your daily completion spent on wrapping up your lead generation. So, this is interesting. They're saying 30 minutes of your daily 3-3 should be spent wrapping up your lead generation with some methodical follow-up. So what is methodical follow-up? To me, this is a huge differentiator between what most agents don't do and what the good agents all do. Follow up with people.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not, I'm not saying anything negative about car sales, but car sales tends to be, like you said, it's a here and now, boom,
Transactional.
done. Real estate's not like that. A lot of time, that contact you have with someone is not going to lead to a sale right then and there. If you follow up methodically and you stay keeping up with these people, it's amazing how much business you'll have. And year 3 is a magic year. Like, you'll hear this from all, I don't know if car sales is the same way, but a lot of different businesses, when you start, if you continue methodically doing your business, year 3 is like a magical year, because all your stars kind of come together, and all the work, like right now, we're planting seeds, we're tilling soil, we're watering, we're pulling weeds, we're doing all that stuff. Year 3 is when you start getting that tree with tons of fruit on it. So this year, my year 3 it's been insane. I mean, my goal for the year was 14 listings, and I've got 14 already. And yeah, thank you, but it's really from all these things coming together, like just, I mean, insane. Like, this guy, okay, great, I've been talking to this person for 6 months. This guy calls me out of the blue and says, oh yeah, you know what, you told me that. I mean, just all these things came together. So just keep kind of pushing, and you'll be amazed what like comes together in a relatively short period of time. I mean, it's been 2.5 years. So it's not like I've been doing this for 20 years. It happens very quickly. All right, so prospecting sources, love it. I'm not gonna hit every one of these in detail because it's too much information. But let's pick out a few that make sense. Would you guys rather tell me what you're interested in, or would you rather talk about what I've had success doing?
Well, you've had success, I think.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, probably would be the best, most beneficial for us to hear is what you've had success with.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
you've been successful.
okay, so I went back.
And what you're doing?
I went back in and looked at all my transactions that I've had from day 1, and I figured out. I also I didn't tell you this, and I always tell people this. My first closing was 9 months after I started.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah,
Were you doing this full time, only job?
full time, only
Okay.
9 months. That's not normal. I sat in class, like there's 4 of you. I was sitting in scripts and role play, and I was in the productivity coach. Every day I was here, and all these people are like, I just had my first listing.
I know,
Oh, I just had my
that
first sale.
sucks.
I'm like, 3 weeks, and I'm going, what am I doing wrong, right? I was building my business because I want to be number 1 in 10 years. I'm not interested in being number 1 in 10 days.
Right.
So a lot of what I did was not producing results right away. That's okay, because when I did start getting results, it was like, and I ended up, rookie of the year. So a lot of the people that had business, yeah, they had a little business, but I had more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Just do the right thing and stay on track with it. So for lead gen and what prospecting works for you, don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Do what works for you, regardless of that. So I went back and looked at all my business, and I realized I feel like I've done okay with expireds. But when I look back on it, there's not a lot of business that I got directly from expireds. So FSBOs I've done better with. There were some that I'm not sure because they were both, like that one I told you about, there was an expired and a for sale by owner and everything else in between. So prospecting sources, door knocking, geographical farming is one. Door knocking, obviously, you knock on doors. You go in a neighborhood, knock on doors. Geographical farming, you can get.
I had a question about the door knocking.
Yeah.
When you did your door knocking, you obviously probably had something with you to record their names, get their information and all of that.
Yep.
And I've heard different people say, oh, hand out flyers or hand out business cards or
Yep.
do a market analysis of the neighborhood and bring that with you
Yep.
or have some sort of a gift to bring.
Yep.
What do you think about that? What do you think makes the most sense?
So I want people's info. I want to be in control. I want to have an opportunity to follow up with them and do everything else. So for me, I want their info. I don't want to give them my info. I feel like if I give you a business card and say, it was great meeting you, and I leave, that's basically worthless.
Yeah. That's what I think. I know
It
for
doesn't-
me, I'm just gonna throw it away.
It doesn't hurt. It could work, right?
Yeah.
Again, if you're fishing and you've got 1,000 fishing poles in the water, you're gonna get more fish than if you got one. I just feel like for me, my best chance is actual, like, face-to-face contact. And I want their info because I wanna keep following up with them and make more of it. So this is what I have right now, which I've done. So this I like to use because it's more than a business card. So when I'm talking to someone and I'm leaving them my information, at least it says in here a little bit about my experience, kind of my philosophy on business, recently sold properties, giving back to the community and what I do, and on the back, there's a few different testimonials. It's something, it's more than just a business card. So I like to use that, you guys are welcome to look that. And then I have this one specifically for door knocking. So when I door knock, I can hang it on the door. Sorry I missed you, I have some relevant information I'd like to share with you. Please let me know the best time to reach you. Thanks, Drew. What my clients are saying, my contact info, and on this, it's my philosophy about business and my name. I had it made on Vistaprint. We got a bunch of them.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I was gonna say, where did you have that made up?
Yep. In general though, what's more important to me is I always have my notebook when I go out, because I want your information. I want your name, phone number. I want to take notes, so I leave and I write down, oh, we had a great conversation about their gardens in the backyard or whatever. You know, Mr. Smith, his wife is recuperating from surgery, whatever. I want to write notes and make sure I have that at the top people. For sale by owners, so geographical farming, you can get, there's different programs that you can pay for that you can use to get phone numbers in an area. So you can pay and actually look up, like, here's a listing that's in Portland, in North Urinary. You can look around that area and get all the phone numbers for all the houses in that area. And you can specifically call those people to say, hey, did you know that this house is on the market? So.
Yeah, Joe has that too.
Yep, so you can do that. For sale by owners, so again, the service that I use,
Can I take a picture of this? Do you want? Can I take a picture?
I'll give you one, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah. For sale by owners, you call people that are trying to sell it themselves. You drive by, I can't tell you how many times I've been driving, I see a for sale by owner. My car's pulling over, I'm going to talk to them. How's it going? What's up? Why are you trying to sell it yourself? How's the success been? Have you had a lot of people come through? How long's it been on the market? What's your price? How'd you get your price?
You'll door knock on it.
Absolutely.
Is there any time?
Anytime.
Sure.
Stop by. Why not? Right? I mean, if they're for sale by owner and they're not there,
I don't see them anywhere. Maybe I don't know why, I'm not seeing them.
oh, now, you will now.
Yeah.
Now it's gonna be on your
I
mind.
mean, I've seen one, like, property.
You'll see for sale by owners, they're around. Yeah, and when that happens, for sale by owners will have a sign
Mhm.
and they'll have their phone number on the sign to
Yeah.
call. So you go by their house and there's no one there.
Mm.
Take a look, get the phone number, call them up. Guess what? If they're not there, is their house gonna sell?
If they're not there?
Is their house gonna sell?
No, of course not.
How about having a professional who can be there to show your house
Mm.
all the time? Wouldn't that make sense? So,
Like, what if you drive by one, like, I drove by one last night, and I was looking at, it was a passenger, and I'm like, wow, that was really going to hell. And then I happened to look down, and I saw a sign, I'm like, oh, there's, you know, cause now my eyes I'm perked up now, I'm always looking for real estate
Absolutely,
signs
yeah.
and things like that, for rents and.
yeah.
And so I said, oh, there's a little yellow sign that said, and we were going too fast. But I'm like, oh, he's selling it.
Go back,
And
get the number.
so if it's falling apart, is it still like,
I mean,
You can still
I'll-
market it, you can still sell it,
I'll take any listing.
yeah. Who cares, yeah.
Seriously, if it's falling apart, then it's a great listing for the guy that I know that'll flip a house.
Right. Somebody
So,
that will want it.
these guys that wanna sell their house are gonna have a hard time selling their house to Mr. and Mrs. Homebuyer.
Right.
Because Mr. and Mrs. Homebuyer
want a
don't want a
turnkey?
piece of
Yeah,
crap
right.
that's
And-
falling apart. But, there's a lot of people out there that would love nothing better than a house that's falling apart. They wanna pay nothing for it,
Yeah.
they wanna fix it up, and they wanna sell it for making profit. And that person who's selling,
Mhm.
you're doing them a service too, because you're hooking them up with people that don't care if it's falling apart.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, absolutely, anything counts. Expired or withdrawn listings. Withdrawn, you gotta be careful because it's still, they still have an agreement with somebody. So, even though it's withdrawn from the market, they're still under contract with somebody, so you really shouldn't be talking to them. Expired is a different story. Once it's expired, give them a call. Open houses, agent referrals, and social media. So the one thing that I would say, well, the two things. So open houses, I've had good success with that, and for sale by owners and door knocking. I haven't really had much with agent referrals, like other agents referring business to me. I've had one that didn't really work out. It just didn't work out. I might have had another one I can't think of. So that hasn't really been much for me. Social media, I mean, I do it because I feel like it's something, it's almost like branding, marketing, like I need to do that. I don't really find that it is a source of business for me. And I will say my very first listing that I had, I put a Facebook post out, and someone I know in town saw my Facebook post and contacted me and went to go see the house and ended up buying. So it certainly doesn't hurt to do that. I just don't think that like that's my main source of, for me it's branding more than anything else.
How did you find your geographical farm?
How did I find my geographical farm?
Yeah, like, you know, where you wanted to work, where is your area?
So I live in Scarborough.
Mhm.
I chose to not pick a specific area
Yeah.
to focus on because I wanted to see where business led me to
Right.
and be open to that before I focused on anything. I am the greater Portland area is where I focus, and I've definitely done business in Scarborough just because I've got more connections and different things going on in that area. However, I've also, I sold a house in Naples.
Yeah.
I sold a house in Kennebunkport.
Yeah.
So I'm working where the business takes me as long as it makes sense. I will not do something like, right now I have a client whose parents have a house in Thompson. And I've already told them that I'm referring them to an agent that I know up there who does a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing them a service by listing their house in Thompson, whereas I know another agent that will do it. Does it suck to turn away business? Yes. I'll get 25%, I'm hooking them up with the right person, it'll work out fine. And I can focus on what I'm good at in the area that I'm focused on. The Naples listing that I took made sense because it was the parents of another client that I had, and we had that relationship, and I was able to work with them, get their house ready, and it's not the kind of house I needed to go up to all the time. And when I did do an open house there, I subbed it out to another agent. It worked out fine. But for the most part, it's gotta be close enough.
Greater Portland.
Greater Portland.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so for sale by owners, the best agents have long recognized that people who place their own for sale sign on their property and run their own ads have proven one thing: they're motivated to sell. So that group of people for sale by owners, they have a house to sell.
Yeah.
You've kind of gotten through all the pre-qualifying and who are you about. You kind of go straight to the, you go straight to your fifth date. Right away. So the good part about that is like, let's talk, let's figure this out. Again, I'm coming at it from problem solving, right? You got a problem. You want to sell your house. Why do you think they're selling it for sale by owner?
They don't want
Trying to
to
save
pay.
fund.
They don't want to pay commission, okay?
Yep.
What other things are you likely to hear talking to a for sale by owner?
They think they get more money for it.
They think they get more money than a real estate, like they don't trust the realtors.
They think that they'll get more money personally, like the overall game.
Okay, because they'll save
They'll
the commission.
They'll spend less, or they'll list it for whatever they want.
Okay.
Well, they don't trust the industry for whatever reason.
They don't trust realtors. They don't think realtors are really going to do anything, right? Everything's selling right now.
Exactly.
My house is going to sell in 2 days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So these are all the things you're going to hear. And what I find interesting about dealing with for sale by owners is typically I make more money for them than if they do it themselves. that's the funny part about it. When you really think about it, number one, how are you coming up with the price for your house? And they'll say, well, I know what so-and-so down the street sold for. Really? Do you? Because a lot of times you're wrong.
Right.
When we start
What did
looking
it
at
close-
that number.
What did it close out at, right? What did it
People
appraise,
get a little
that
bit
kind of
off
stuff, right?
in their pricing. They kind of see what they want to see,
Right.
right? They also don't know about all the houses that didn't sell,
Mm.
or the ones that went, you know. Sometimes they have a friend who's an agent, and the friend does a CMA for them, and say, oh, my friend's an agent. He told me it'd be like this. This is the price point. I said, really? Great. What kind of friend are they if they're letting you do it on your own? Like, you're selling your house, it's a big investment. It's a big, big chunk of money for most people. How about getting a professional to do it, right? I like FSBOs. I like talking to FSBOs, dealing with FSBOs. I can go meet them at their house. One thing I don't do, and you'll hear there's different approaches. Read the scripts. There's different scripts for sale by owners that you can use. I never go to a person's appointment with them thinking I have a buyer for them and then trying to sell their house and do a listing appointment. I don't do that. I tell them up front. They go, do you have someone to buy my house? I don't know. I haven't seen your house. And there's no pictures online except these 12 Zillow photos that you took with your cell phone. I don't really have a good idea whether this is right for my clients or not. But what I will do is I'll sit down and talk to you and explain to you exactly what I do to get houses sold. I've sold 100% of the houses I've listed. I have never had a house listed that I didn't sell. And I get 98.5% of my list to sale price. So if I tell you we're listing it at such and such a price, we're getting 98.5% of that price. Sometimes more, sometimes less, that's my average, but we're there. So, I'll tell you everything I do to get my houses sold, and if you choose to work with me, great. If you choose to do it on your own, you got my information for free. If you want to use your friend, the agent, go for it, no problem. So I'm upfront about that before I meet with them. And then I'll sit down and talk to them and explain to them how I get houses sold. Does that make sense? That's what I do with for sale by owners, and I've had pretty good results with that. Expired or withdrawn listings, so I'm going to skip expired. Open houses. So open houses are, it's not the actual open house itself, it's everything around it. So they do these things called 7th level open houses, which I think is in the Ignite book somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I'm putting signs out before the open house, days before. I'm door knocking that whole area. So I had, when I was new, I was doing an open house for another agent, and 2 days before the open house, I was walking around the neighborhood door knocking, and there was a guy in the driveway of one of the houses. I started talking to him. I said, hey, here's a flyer for this open house over next week. If you ever have any questions. I said, oh yeah, I'm actually thinking about selling my house sometime soon. I said, great. Boom, got it. Now we're just following up and everything else. I ended up getting an appointment. I ended up listing his house. So that's a piece of business that came because I was doing the work around an open house. Really, really important. Every time I do open houses, I'm also going around that area and I'm you know, door knocking, I'm doing all that stuff. Then at the open house itself, it's work. I'm not sitting there and just going, you know, what is it you're here for today? Here's a sign-in sheet because I want their contact info. If they're just looky-loos, great. At some point they're going to be ready to buy. If it's somebody who's right now ready to buy and they're interested in the house, fantastic. No matter what, I'm prospecting all these people the whole time they're there. If they're working with another agent, I'm following up. So every time I do open houses, after the open house is over, I'm calling the agents and saying, hey, Joe, did you know your clients, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, were in this house today? They seem like they were pretty interested. And I can't tell you how many times I've had agents tell me, and I go, oh, wow. I don't get calls usually from agents. Again, this is not rocket science, right? I mean, I literally, why wouldn't you call to follow up after open house? It's like, duh, right? So I call them up, I tell them, and either the client didn't tell them, or it's another chance for me to sell the property, right? This agent wasn't there today. So I'm telling them, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, your clients were in there today. They really liked it. They weren't sure about the backyard. They thought it might be a little bit wet back there. And just so you know, like they've never had any problems here with wetness. It's actually this time of year it gets a little bit, but other than that, the rest of the year it's bone dry. Really great space for kids to play around in. Yeah. So let me know if they're interested. It just gives me a chance to kind of do this follow up, right? So I do that with every open house. I get about 3 pieces of business from every listing I get, in general. So every listing I have leads to 3 pieces of business.
I just had I just had one that went under contract last night.
Congratulations.
Thank you, my first one. And I had my, so my first open house was just like, I don't know, a week ago.
So this is your listing that went under contract?
My listing, yeah.
Cool.
And so, but my point was that, I put out a sheet for people to sign in, but of course they put they start by filling it out great, and then some people see that it just kind of trickles off, and then there's not as much information, stuff like that. So then I found myself Googling, like trying to follow up with people, you know, and just figuring that stuff out. What is it that you do as far as, do you put in everybody's name in yourself, or how do you do it for your guest list or whatever?
Some people don't want to give their information. They're
Yeah.
just really weird about that stuff. Usually there's a reason why. So I like to typically just tell people, like, there's a sign-in sheet there. You'll get a good chunk of people that are just used to it now. They know about open houses. They know, they come in, they sign up. They'll give you just their email, just their phone number, whatever. If they just do their name and no contact information at all, I'll usually maybe follow up somewhere in the house, go, oh, hey, how you doing? Jim, I see you put your name, but there's no phone number or email or anything. Are you working with an agent?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Someone's, okay, great. Who's the agent? And I'll write it.
Yeah, I didn't think of doing that,
I put
because it was the first time I did an open house, so.
Yeah, because if they're,
They just wrote
But
yes
they'll
or
work
no,
with an
whether or
agent,
not they
yes
had
or
an
no.
agent.
Some people put a Y or no.
I've got all that stuff on my sign sheet. They still don't.
Sometimes.
They just write their name and they'll, you know,
I
some
got 2
people don't.
buyers though out of that, though, that's
Exactly.
very helpful, that people who's walking through, they're ready to
That's
buy and,
absolutely.
so yeah, so it's 3 pieces of business, like you said.
That's what happens if you follow up.
Well, I've got 3, but nobody's called me back yet, or taken my calls, or signed anything, or
That's why
invited me over.
That's why you got to keep going.
Yeah.
If it was,
Next call's gonna be, I'd really like to get together coffee for you.
Yeah.
I'd love to treat you to a cup of coffee.
and look at the scripts, because you'll notice with the
Yes.
scripts, there's usually like you say something, but then it's all about asking good questions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to find out, like, why are these people resistant to using you? Like, why aren't they using an agent already?
If they liked me, I could tell they liked me at the open house.
Yeah, sometimes they think that there's no benefit to it. I mean, things have changed now versus 20 years ago. People are online. They're finding houses themselves. Do they really need a realtor to help them find a house? There's 10 million
Well,
websites.
I've got
that
an
you
app that's really great though.
You got an app that helps, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, there's a lot more to buying a house than just finding it, right?
Yeah.
So, open houses. I think open houses are definitely good. You're brand new, talk to other agents that have listings and see if you can work their open houses for them. You know, I do something, like I've had a couple newer people that have done it with me, so I get business out of my open houses, so it's kind of, for me personally, it's like tough for me to say, I'm not gonna do it, you do everything. Cause I'm going, gee, I don't wanna give up that business. So I usually work something out, like if it's a house where I need to have another agent with me, I'll have them work one part, I'll work the other, we'll split up the leads, something like that, make it worthwhile. When I started, there was someone who told me it was, they'll let me do the open house, and they said they wanted a 25% referral for any business I got from the open house. I was like, no problem. I mean, for me personally, where I was mentally, I'm like, that's a gift, right? Oh my God, no problem, I'll do it for sure. Now, I know there's other agents that will just say, you can do everything, and they don't want anything. They're like, just go ahead and do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it just depends on what works for you and who you wanna work with. But definitely there's opportunities for you to work open houses. Okay, agent referrals, social media, yeah, I don't really, door knocking. So door knocking has worked well for me, really well. I've found that number one, it's more enjoyable than being on the phone. Number two, I find that when I door knock with people, I get to connect with them. So we had Red Day last month. Actually, that was this month, huh? Beginning of this month.
Yep,
Were you all here for that?
I was.
Were you?
I wasn't.
You weren't?
No.
You weren't? Okay, so Red Day is one day every year. Keller Williams kind of shuts down and just does community service. So this year we did this Red Day, kind of collaboration with Furniture Friends, which is a group in town where we get, like furniture donations and help people that can't afford furniture. So I was door knocking in an area around my listing where I was telling people not only about the house that I was listing, but also, hey, if you ever have any furniture that you wanna get rid of, we're doing this thing with Keller Williams. So now I've got 3 contacts that actually were part of Keller Williams Red Day. So I initially talked to them, door knocking, then that house went under contract right away, and wait till they find out that sale price. And I got them hooked up with this Keller Williams Red Day thing, so they got some of their furniture taken care of, and I get to follow up with them. So I have 0 business right now from that, but I guarantee you I'm gonna get something out of that, business-wise.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of door knocking, getting out there, meeting people. For me, it's kind of fun. Like that's just, you know, it's almost a puzzle. Like who am I gonna meet today? How am I gonna solve their problem?
Yeah, in Auburn, we did it a little differently. We went to a local farm that supports the various homes
Yep.
with providing cheap, affordable vegetables. So we didn't have like direct contact with the public in that way, but I still think, you know, having contact with the workers there and the owners of the farm,
Yep.
you know. it's
Door knocking's awesome. I would highly recommend it. Get out there, do it. The key to a lot of this stuff too, door knocking for sale by owners, also known as FSBOs, you hear that all the time. Expires, open houses, social media, is just do it. Just do it. Just keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and you'll be amazed at how much you get out of it. Maybe not today, but at some point. I'm skipping all the social media stuff because I am not the guy that you want to learn anything social media. This is a great quote from Gary Keller. My fear of failure was greater than my fear of lead generating. So a lot of times they call it like the 800-pound phone. Like nobody wants to pick up that phone and make those calls. Find something that is worse than that and it motivates you to do the phone call. And honestly, I mean, I've yet, there's maybe one time that I've had a jerk on the phone. And even then, it's like, okay, wow, that really hurt, right?
It's a phone.
It's a phone call, who cares? Most people are fine. Like, when you just call and talk to them, you just go knock on their door. Most people will respond well to you, especially when you're coming from contribution. You're here to figure something out for them. You're giving them something, you're not asking for anything. So, really important. Putting it all together. Action plan, prepare for your next class, recall, and remember. So, anything today that was good that you got out of this?
Keep it.
Huh?
We'll keep it, right?
Keep what?
Oh, keep the information?
No, tell me.
Oh.
Anything good that you
Oh,
got out of the
lots
class?
of good things.
Like what?
Well, it's just, you know, we can talk about doing things all we want.
Yeah.
But until we actually do it, you know, like making the plan, we're gonna do scripts. I haven't had a script partner since I've been here.
Yep.
I need a script partner. My 13-year-old just cannot give me what I need.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
taking the action that we're gonna do that, cause
Yeah.
you need one too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's gonna force me to look at the scripts. It's gonna put aside that time and the time block, you talked about it and Rick talked about it the other day. That's my thing, is I just gotta get this all straight, and, you know, get it out of my head and get it on paper, and what does this look like in my life? I took, at the beginning of May, I took 5 hours to plan my calendar for May.
Yep.
And I still do not have everything in now. Oh, well, we've got this conference thing coming up, gotta go to that. So now that's a new thing, right? Oh, the kid had to go to the doctor's, got a sinus infection, gotta fit that in there. It's like, hell, okay, kid, sinus infection, show up for the bowl conference.
There's
You know what I
always
mean?
gonna be
It's a lot.
something. Yep.
It's a lot,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
So what did you get out of specifically the stuff we went over today that you think will help you?
So I like how you go, about your for sale by owners.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like your kind of approach to that, and also how you break down that you might not necessarily need to have an hour, 2 hours of lead gen every day, but if you know that you get to a certain amount of appointments, you're tracking it from a little bit higher up, which is easier, I think.
Yeah.
To find out what works for you, and then reach that goal. Or not just focus on a million things that you need to do to get to your end goal, but if you say, okay, if I get 5 appointments this week, I'll be fine. It makes it a little bit less
Yeah.
daunting, I think.
Yeah, cool, great.
Yeah, that's what I would say too, yeah, it made it feel a little less daunting.
Measure things the way that you wanna measure them, but just make sure it's working for.
Make sure you're measuring.
Yeah.
Measuring
Yeah,
them is
however you
right.
wanna measure, make
But
sure you
just make
measure.
sure you're getting there,
Yeah, great. Anything else? You got anything, Jay?
Yeah, I like how every contact that you make always, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna, get a listing or make a sale, but every contact that you make, you're going out in some avenue to help that person, however it might be,
Yep.
which down the road, they'll remember and hopefully come back to you when they actually want what the real intention was, either the
Yeah.
listing or the sale. It's just, what can I do for you? Get you a lawn care specialist, or get you information on a mortgage broker, or
Yeah.
and that's not necessarily like cramming down your throat that you wanna sell their house. You're just helping them.
Right.
And I think when you're kind to people and you help them with things, they remember that and they come back to you.
Yeah, for sure.
And that seems to be how you approach it. And
That's
I
totally
like that.
what I approach it, yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not looking to hand out free information all day long and do CMAs for people and give them contractors and painters, and I'm not making any money doing that.
Right.
However, if this person needs information on the flood zone maps and needs to talk to someone about that, maybe have someone come out to their house, great, I'm your resource. That's more the reason I'm doing it.
Right.
I'm your resource for everything home related.
I think a good thing for a lot of us to understand is that when you go to approach anybody about real estate, you need to be proactive about it and have their information rather than relying on just handing them a card, or even though it's better than a card, but you have to have their information, that way you're in control of the situation.
Yeah.
Because if you can't follow up with people, then you're useless.
Yeah, I need their information, sure.
Also, you had mentioned it's funny that I'm saying this now after I just finally have somebody under contract, but not worrying about feeling, cause you can feel like a failure, you know what I mean? Even though you're working so hard at all this.
Oh, yeah.
And seeing that other people are producing, and you're happy, genuinely happy for them too. You're like, when's it gonna start happening for me, But to know that you're so successful and you were building your business, and then it started to explode for you, but it happens at different times for different people and the way that they're going about their process.
Bingo. Yep, different times for different people,
Yeah.
right? We're all on our own trajectory.
Yeah.
Not everyone wants the same thing. There's plenty of people doing this that they do 4 transactions a year, that's totally fine with them.
Yeah.
That's success to them, right?
I think it was a good point that you said that you slowed down to speed up basically in the beginning, which is kind of how I'm trying to approach it as well. You worked on building your business to be the best in 10 years rather than in 10 days.
Yeah. I worked hard, I worked just as hard as the people that were.
But setting yourself up to
Yeah.
be
Plant
to be
seeds.
efficient when
Yeah.
you get there.
Yeah, I think of real estate when I started, for me, again, we're all on our own path. It was more about a farming approach. I need to plant seeds, till the soil, water it, pull the weeds, do all this crap before you actually get a piece of fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you do get fruit, you really gotta not pick it all right away. You gotta let it blossom so that later you're gonna have this really mature tree that's just gonna be feeding your family for years. So that was more my approach to doing it. But that's great. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for that feedback.
Yeah.
Hope you guys got good
Yeah.
stuff. So stay focused on the last couple pages. It tells you what you gotta have ready for next week. So make sure you stay focused on that. And we got a few minutes. I'm just gonna leave you with one more story, which encapsulates, I think, totally my business. About 2 years ago, so when I was first doing the business, probably more than 2 years ago, it was literally right away, I told everybody that I was in real estate. Everyone I know, I told them I was in real estate. It wasn't a hard sell because honestly, some people I know, there's no way they were gonna do anything with me because I was brand new in real estate. So I told everyone, and I kept in contact, and things happened. I had one friend of mine who's a financial planner, and he, at the time, said he was going through a divorce. He was with someone else that he was already seeing, and he said they were thinking about moving in together, and both of them were going to sell their houses, and they were going to buy a house together. I mean, imagine when you're brand new, right? Like, what? Are you kidding me? Man, it's a home run. So it turned out that they're still together, but they just decided that wasn't the plan they wanted to follow up on. So great. Fast forward now to a couple months ago, and I was meeting with him as my financial planner. And while I was there, I said, hey, just curious, like now that, because I knew from, this was the first time I saw him physically, but I knew from social media that they had decided to get engaged officially. So it's the first time I saw him physically. So I said to him something to the effect of like, hey, are you guys going back now to like what your original plan was? Just curious. He said, yeah, we're actually already looking. I said, oh, I knew about this house from literally 2 days earlier. I had found out about it, I went on a listing appointment, and they had just told me the day before my appointment with my financial planner, the day before, they had just told me I didn't get the listing. They were going with this other woman who knows the area better than I do, that they felt more confident with her. And I said, okay, great, thanks so much. Maybe, you know, at some point, blah, blah, blah. That was it. So I'm sitting there with my friend, and I said, are you still looking for it? And I remembered what they were looking for, and I said, so I'm just curious, if I know about a house right now, that's exactly what you guys are looking at, it has this, this, would you use me as your buyer's agent? He said, yep, absolutely. Are you kidding me? I said, great, give me a second. I went to his other office and I called back that woman who just told me I didn't get the listing.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, hey, just curious, if I have a buyer who's qualified, ready to go right now and wants your house, would you list it with me instead of that other woman? And they said, yeah, we're meeting her next week to sign paperwork. We haven't signed anything yet. I go, great. I'm going to bring them by your house tomorrow. Perfect. Click. Made it happen, brought them in, loved the house, went under contract. My deal.
Awesome.
They both have a house to sell as well.
And you're listing both.
Of course, that was part of the deal.
Awesome.
So, couple of things out of this. Number one, when people tell you things, remember it, and then do the work, like find them something. So this guy he's a financial planner in the greater Portland area. He's got all kinds of, he's got 6 or 7 realtors that he knows inside and out. Who's he working with? The one that did the work. He was really impressed that I remembered what they wanted. He was really impressed that I found in that place, because it's hard to find, and I found it off market and made the whole thing happen. And the people that were selling were going to use someone else, and they ended up using me because I found the buyer for them. So just kind of a good story to think you gotta kind of just keep all these things, all these balls, you know, you're spinning all these plates, just keep all of it going, because you never know when you're gonna get that chance to kind of make it all come together and work. So, yeah, that was a good deal.
Awesome.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Do you want
Thank you
this?
very much.
Oh,
I'd
yeah,
like to
can I
have a copy of it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Both of them.
This one too?
Yeah, and your business card. This, that, and your
What
business
else do
card.
you have to give to
What
me?
else?
Your credit card.
You want my thumbprint? I hope this was helpful. I'm glad you guys came into this.
Yes, it's great.
Very helpful, thank you.
And you'll find people will be really open and work with you. So if you just, you know, sometimes you got to ask the right person at the right time, but you'll find someone that will give you what you want here. I found people
yeah.
who really.
I mean, I'm finding independent agents are doing, that very helpful.
Sorry, I played much.
You want me to?
And I mean, even people that are on teams too, but I mean,
My worry is the other agent that lost out, are you making an enemy on your last?
I don't even know who she is.
You didn't know who she was.
I mean, I don't know how what I did is gonna make an enemy for her. Like, I understand why she would have loved to make money.
Right.
I took care of those clients. If she cares
And
about
she
the
did-
clients
she
getting taken care
scheduled out a
of,
week out,
they didn't even
so-
have to show their house. They didn't even have to do, they had all kinds of work lined up, they were gonna paint, they didn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
Part of that is when they do your job better than you do.
Yeah. And-
Well, yeah.
And you lose some listings. I mean, I've had people that I've gone out and done listing appointments with. There was one in Scarborough that was a expired listing. I went out and met with them. It was me, Tom Landry's team, Scott and Sonny Townsend, and Jeff Matea. Like, I'm sitting there meeting with these people and I'm like, Jesus, all the people that they're meeting with besides me do 200 plus transactions a year. You know, they're everywhere. So I lost that listing. I'm just sitting there going, I'm in the game,
Yeah.
you know?
Right, yeah.
I'm not gonna win every single listing appointment. If I'm going up against those guys, they're not, no one else was, it was me. So
It's great.
I'll win some, I'll lose some.
Mhm.
And I get better.
Rather be sitting in a room with those people than
Heck yeah.
anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I don't think that person really could, what are they gonna say? I mean,
Yeah, and sometimes my girlfriend, she deals with a lot of the Chinese population, she's from China, and so a lot of them contact her.
Yeah,
And, she works for Legacy Realty, but she owns a restaurant, so people come to her, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But she had a couple come to her that, this other agent did showed them all of these houses.
Sorry, this thing's still being going here and we don't need this.